Ladies and gentlemen.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined here today for another episode of the Gacha Heroes podcast. And of course, the discussion today is going to be centered around Wuthering Waves, its endgame, some of the issues that a lot of individuals have been talking about. We're happy to bring in other games into the discussion as well, but that's just kind of going to be the main focus. I'm going to be joined over here by kind of like going from the top left all the way down to the bottom right. I'm in the middle over here on at least on my screen. We got Blazion over here in the top left. We're gonna have Captain Cabernet, which is, I don't know why she's assigned to show up with like two fucking versions of herself.
Shadow clone.
It is
Double
what
teaming.
it is. Yeah, she's got her IRL stream set up. We got Ethan over here, who still hasn't made his bed since the last podcast. I don't know why. We got Lil Honey Schmack in the bottom right, and then VXV Fiction on the left. That's going to be who we have on the podcast today. And kind of like just to get a bit of a round robin done, I think it would be awesome if everybody on the call could kind of give like their background when it comes to WhiWa, how they would view themselves as a player. Are you like casual? Are you sweaty? And your overall experience with the new TOA updates, the new WhiWa updates that have come out, just to get some context on everybody on the call, because I'm not exactly sure how good or bad you guys are at the game. I know how bad some people are, but not everybody else.
All right. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hi guys, I'm Blazion. I started playing the game since the beginning of the game, but I did took a small break in 1.2, I believe. Exactly when the Cheng Liao came in. I had no idea, so I don't have Cheng Liao on my account. I then experienced a lot of the end games since the start of the game until now. And my overall experience has been fine until I think it was like around 2.3 with the Zani TOA that WhiWa started becoming more of an issue. And nowadays it's so bad that it's impossible to not talk about that. And there's a lot of things I want to talk and discuss with you guys. And yeah, hopefully we find a consensus later on.
All right, Cap.
Clearly, I'm Endgame God. I am Endgame Jesus. They call me the TOA Master, the girl with all the skills to pay the bills. Clearly, I know what I'm doing. I don't know. I pull for basically every character and like every SIG weapon, and I go and I smash my head against the wall for however long I need to do TOA. Hey, I got some thoughts. I got all the thoughts. Some good, some bad. WhiWa, all bad. None good. But I try my best. I feel like I'm more casual, but I'm not like awful. I'm not dog shit is what I'm saying. But I feel like I play enough to kind of like have an opinion and throw my hat in the ring.
Okay, and just to reinforce what Cap is saying, Cap did not know how to generate Verena's Forte circuit until January of this year.
Okay, wait.
Just as like some background.
I didn't do Endgame until January, okay? I was playing another game for like 6 months. I came back, I was like, actually, maybe I'll get good at this game. And that's when I started playing.
Me, actually.
Okay?
Yeah, that was me too.
Yeah.
I didn't do Endgame in WuWa's until like January. Me too,
Yeah.
I think.
But like, that was 9 months ago. So
Filthy
that's a
casuals.
while. That's a while.
Disgusting. I myself have been a veteran of the war. I've been playing since the launch, but I don't blame my account. I use viewer accounts. I don't build my account. I found it very boring. I love TOA. I like the new TOA. There's things I don't like about it, but overall I enjoy it. I hate WhiWa with a passion though. I think it's the worst thing like I've ever played. Like I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic. That shit's fucking ass. There's so many things I just dislike about it. It makes me want to not play the game. Like just straight up.
What's the hate with
yeah,
WhiWa?
bro. WhiWa is just wax. man.
No, WhiWa sucks so bad. I have nothing good to say about WhiWa.
I'll just give you the quick TLDR. We have so many different other options that they could put in the game that we've had in the game already. Like I now miss TOA. So yeah, but pretty much.
Do you with the two new floors? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'd rather a bi-weekly reset. But I'm not gonna derail right now. We're doing intros, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think just like a basic introduction. Don't worry, we'll get into the meat of the discussion a bit later on.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one. All right, Mr. Honey Schmack.
All right, I'm Little Honey Schmack. I've been playing since I accidentally started playing because my friend made my account because I didn't want to play at first, but I want to say the first weekend. Yeah, good friend. And I want to say I'm like in between casual and sweaty. Like, if there's a character I like and I want to play, I'll like try and sweat it out. Other than that, it's like I'll just play through it how any other player would.
Mhm.
TOA, I think it has some problems now. WhiWa is, I don't even. I hope they drop this game mode in the end. Like, this game mode does not do anything for the game at all. Fiction's like, why WhiWa?
All right, we'll
But-
we'll
It's
explore
fun.
those thoughts a little bit further. But what about VXV?
But hold on, before we proceed, what's the name of the cat? Because I'm looking at the cat.
Oh, true.
That is Suki.
Suki. That's a cutie. That's a
I
cute
didn't even
cat.
notice the kitty. Oh, so cute.
Ah, that's so cute.
Seems very
Thank you.
very well behaved, especially for being on stream.
I
don't if she
know,
knows,
I
though.
know.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
first time she's been on stream. So I don't
What's
know
her
why
thoughts
she
on
was-
WhiWa? What does she think of WhiWa?
What do you
Oh,
think
she
of
looked
WhiWa,
up.
Suki?
Yep, she likes that.
She's like,
see?
that shit ass, bro.
Yeah.
Yup.
Well, I have no idea what's the hate with WhiWa. I, for one, enjoy WhiWa. I think it's decent, considering that I just like to click a button and watch my characters do things. I'm not sitting here trying to sweat too hard. I'm more of the on the casual side of things. I lost my fire of meta and sweatiness to Genshin and SSR. Basically, I just refuse to keep doing that particular spirit in gacha games. To be honest with you, WhiWa is fun to me, considering what I like to do in the games. Tower of Adversity is fine as long as I don't aim for the last 50 astrite. Like, as long as I don't do that, I'm having a good time. If I aim for the last 50 astrite, not so much. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm more on the casual, basically representing the silent majority outside of the internet. Basically, the players you typically won't see out here is basically what I am today.
Okay. All right. So very, very big sort of like spread of, I think, like the relative skill levels over here. I guess to give a little bit of context about myself, I think I lean kind of like more towards the sweaty / barely, not really like casual, but kind of like optimized meta, slightly sweaty sort of stuff. I'm not really like going ahead
Really?
and doing like quick swap for like all of my rotations or doing like wild team cons, but I have like great builds on pretty much all of my characters and all, like optimized rotations, like do quick swaps on Sanhua and stuff like that. But otherwise, I do like keeping the gameplay relatively relatable. If you could think of like the best way to summarize me, I think it would be like a casual Supermax, where I give like very helpful hints on how to optimize the teams, but don't play them in a way that's, if you watch like a 10-minute video from what I'm making, then you probably would be able to do the same things that I'm doing. Is essentially like kind of like, it's like one step above, but not really at the sweaty level yet. So I would say that I'm probably the one that's taking the end game and all of that the most seriously out of everybody here. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't say that I'm like, absolutely grinding to get like the craziest times possible or like the best overall results. So
But we can say you're very knowledgeable, though.
yeah, I would say I have like a pretty
Yeah.
deep, intricate knowledge of most of the
Absolutely,
stuff that's in the game.
You have theory, not much practicality.
Oh no, I like to keep it very practical with what I'm doing. That's probably like the main thing. I would say the theory stuff kind of is like when you get into like sheets, and I think that's where a lot of like
There we go. That's
discussion-
what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I'm not really big on like a sheet sort of guy, just like actuals. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's going to be, I guess, the context of everybody heading on into this call. We got like a bit of a rundown of everybody's skill levels and their experience. The first question that I wanted to pose to the group was, how is the new TOA?
I like it.
Why?
I like it.
I like
I-
it with an asterisk.
Yeah. I think that overall there's definitely issues like the Lampy Lumen, that guy's UI or AI is horrendous.
Mhm.
I do think if you tone down a little bit,
right?
yeah, the ice dude
I
who
don't know
jumps
their
around,
names, man. I could,
that bro's
yeah.
annoying as
Okay.
fuck.
Yeah, she
if
just
you
flies
he
away.
would just be
I
running
know.
around, and the
Mhm.
Light Crusher. But I think overall, I enjoy this level of difficulty. If they lower the HP a little bit, I wouldn't be mad. I think my biggest gripe is just moving the ash rate up to floor 1 and 2 and giving something different.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Oh, bro, they can give echo boxes, they can give tuners. They just don't need to lock the premium currency. I know
No
it's
one
only
really cares
50.
much.
The weekly
Ah.
match would be really cool.
No, people do care. That's literally like
Not
that's
that
the
much.
no, like that's just like not true, right? We
Wow.
all complained about like Hoyoverse locking currency.
Yeah.
and now WuWa's locking 50 Asterite.
Not
Or
even
100
cards, D.
Asterite.
Like Stygian's like cosmetics, and people still care about that. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just like,
It's like a third or 2/3 of a pull, or maybe a third of a pull. But that why can't we just like change it? Because I think overall, having this content is very positive. I find it fun. I'm sweating my balls off. I can't clear with Zhengliao and Yinlin. It just doesn't work. But I'm trying it over and over again. But I don't see why we can't just like move the Asteroid up and just change it to something different. So that way we don't have to lock people out of it. But other than that, I think it's dope.
Well,
I'm
the
all for that.
incentive is obviously for you to pull for the new stuff, and typically they like to give you more of the premium stuff, even for free to play, like to put pressure on free to plays to ultimately transform them from free to plays to spenders. So, like, it's just a predatory tactic, is what I'm trying to say, and us expecting them to change that is, unfortunately, due to the nature of the business, can sometimes look like too much to ask from them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
but
love
V-
for it to be, but
Yeah, but
realistically speaking.
even if that's the case, we still have the right to complain about that, right? We shouldn't just
Absolutely.
accept because it is the way that it is, so we just accept the slop that we're eating. And respectfully, Ethan, I don't think it whatever the hell the name of the ice dude is. I don't think that's the only issue. I think most of the bosses in this TOA are all completely, in Saint's words, diseased. For example, there's a guy who has a ton of HP, just like a normal boss, that is named Light Crusher. Who here likes fighting that Light Crusher? I think a lot of people
The
here...
lion, right? It's the
Yes,
lion.
the lion, exactly.
Yeah.
Who here even enjoys when he starts sleeping? Who enjoys fighting a Hecate that dances away, running away from you every single time? Who here likes playing against the Dragon of Dirge that runs backwards and then dashes forwards? Like, all of these mechanics are completely awful. It's just a way to lose time, and it's not a fun experience. This is not a difficulty that you can pass through, that you can fight through. This is an artificial difficulty because we know that certain moves that the Kuro games takes away from the holograms, they could have just taken away these moves that are completely awful, but they didn't do it. So I have my own right, V, answering what you're saying, I have my own right to complain about these awful ass mechanics, even if they make him themselves. I still have the right to complain about this.
Well, I was talking
being completely
about
awful.
the Astrites. I was mainly talking about the Astra, but if you're going to talk about the gameplay aspects
Also
of
that,
those,
yeah.
To be honest with you, for me personally, I think they're decent. It allows me to jump off the button mashing moment and actually respect what the boss is doing. I gotta, okay, he backed up, she's throwing the whip at me. I gotta watch out now. Easy. It's not just boom, 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 boom. It's all over. It reminds me of Genshin. Now, of course, this is countered because of the timer. If it wasn't for the timer, you wouldn't feel like it's this much of an issue. And ultimately, the problem is the timer. Like they gotta find a workaround that.
So
Okay, if that's the case.
So just
What are
just
those
a,
things
just,
called?
just a quick timeout point. Just because I think it's like a decent time for me to just do a little bit of interjection, giving you guys an overview of some of the mechanics that are in the game. So all of these mechanics that we just talked about, and I'm not going to include the Lampilumen in here because it doesn't apply. All of the mechanics that you all just talked about are essentially counterable by either a break on the boss's vibration bar or through parrying, which would break it as well. And the thing is that the Light Crusher, the Fallacy of No Return, Hecate, all of these enemies are ones where if you do a couple of runs and you figure out the moveset, you'll quickly find out that it's extremely fast to find a way to break them. The Light Crusher, for example, is like if you break it during or before it does the jumping move, it'll cancel it completely. And then you just have like a staggered Light Crusher not doing anything, not doing like the bouncing around, not doing any of that. If you have like the Fallacy who's about to activate sicko mode and start teleporting everywhere, if you break him before that starts, it's done, right? And with Hecate, she does the 3 parryable attacks in a row. I think it's like 4 actually. And if you hit all of them, she's broken, and then she dies in like 1 rotation because she actually has no HP. That Hecate on the 4th floor on the left side, she has like almost no fucking health. Like 1 rotation is almost enough to completely kill her. And then if you parry all 4 of her attacks, she's immediately broken and then just dies to 1 rotation. So that's kind of like how some of those fights are designed. There are clearly mechanics to like interact with to make them work and feel a lot more achievable. And, you know, naturally, right, their HP has been lowered for more evasive bosses like Hikari. The Lampy Lumen is kind of like a standout because you would expect that if you broke it, it wouldn't do its triple jump attack. It will do a triple jump attack, you'll break it, and then immediately after it's broken, it'll teleport and then do the triple jump attack.
It's so annoying.
So it's like one of those enemies where it feels like you're playing the game in the way that's like interacting with the bosses, you're doing all the mechanics properly, and then it'll still do the fucked up attack that eats seconds off of your clear time. So with the idea of the timer in mind, if it's clearly enemies where they have interactable mechanics that when you trigger them properly, save you a bunch of time, great. The Lampy Lumen on, floor 4 is just one of those bosses that just breaks all the fucking rules of the game with how he's designed and how he works, and he's an incredible frustration. So that's something that I personally talked about in a lot of videos, and I think he's like the standout, in my opinion at least, for this TOA.
I would like to add something onto what you're saying. Basically, you have to play against the bosses with and define your rotations according to the boss itself, right? The issue is there's specific units or specific play styles, for example, of certain characters in i.e. Gian, for example, that it just ruins your entire rotation. It just ruins your entire rotation. Or, for example, the fact that one of these guys just decide to just jump around, that's enough for you to lose most of your DPS. And then you're going to have to waste not just 10 seconds, but way more than 10 seconds. Because a lot of characters that we are going to talk about soon, probably, for sure, that are from 1.0 to 1.4, they don't have the gap closers. That's why they really feel like they are they stink completely against these bosses. That's one of the major issues that these characters have. So I just wanted to point that out.
I have a question. Are you referencing just the left tower? Because I really think the left and right towers are fine. I actually think those are.
Oh yeah, they're fine.
No. Most of the time, I'm just talking about third and fourth floor, because those are the bosses that have way more HP than Hecate and the monkey. I don't even remember what's the one on the right. Those ones I didn't care much. I just give examples for.
So I could show you multiple clears where I'm timing breaks properly on the Gian team, and there's absolutely no issue at all with whatever the Light Crusher's doing. It's just I am thinking about my experiences where I've been able to conquer the boss mechanics, and I'm just gonna be honest, it takes you like 1 or 2 runs to figure it out. And the Lampy Lumen is the only one where it feels like you, like being one of those older characters, you're just getting like fucked because of it. All of those other bosses that we've been talking about, it feels like there's a very achievable way to get the result that you want. But that Lampy Lumen, like I said, breaks all the rules of the game, breaks all the rules of breaking and annoying movesets and stuff like that, and just causes a lot of issues. So it's just, I feel like maybe on your end, Blazion, there's not as much practice in like seeing what the clears look like when you do time those breaks really well. Because this is the thing, right? I've gotten the Light Crusher's break bar to like 10%. I intro skill on Gian. He throws the spear down and breaks it, and now it's just standing still and dies to a liberation. Right.
Okay, but if you allow me to interject, Saint, even if I was, for example, you, or for example Rexland, or even Wallenstein, I think we can agree that specific characters are getting a kick on their butt. For example, even if I can clear it very easily with Gian and Yuno and Chacona all together in one team, I think we need to realize that these specific units, these old units, even if you play to the best possible scenario with the best builds and the best teams and whatnot, you need to realize that not everyone is a U. Not everyone is going to be Saint Tontus. Not everyone is going to be a Rex Lant or a Wallenstein.
Can I chime in?
Sorry, go on.
Chime in with something? Right. Okay. So we could talk about like characters and how like different characters have changed, but if we're gonna talk about like gameplay and boss mechanics and how people feel, let's be honest. At least for me, somewhat, hey, hands up, kind of casual, right? But even I still felt before the reset, like floors 1 and 2, I could like face tank. I'm not gonna lie. Do I use like do I have like counters in the weapon? Sure, but like I was kind of like face tanking the 2 floors on TUA for like months. At this point, months. And now with Falls 3 and 4, it's kind of that reset again of like, actually, hang on a minute. I gotta pay attention for a minute. I gotta like lock in for a minute. What am I actually doing? Like, am I doing things properly? Like, I could be like not dodging, face tagging things in floor 1 or 2. And now it's like I have to relearn again. Wait a minute. I'm not just gonna face tag through this. I actually have to dodge. I actually have to parry. I have to actually pay attention to the boss movesets. Which, guess what, is a lot of things people wanted from TOA and why they found it boring in the first place. Because people are like, what separates TOA from Spiral Abyss? Player reactivity. And now we're getting player reactivity and people are like complaining that bosses are moving. Like, okay, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's like as big of a deal that these bosses are moving around and stuff as people are like thinking. And we'll get used to it over time as we get more practice with them. That's how
I think
I
the
feel.
issue. Say, go,
Oh, no,
go,
you
go,
go first.
go. No, go on. I've already
I was
talked
gonna
a lot.
say to bounce off of what Cap said is like, yeah, people were complaining that TOA was hella boring for the longest time,
Mhm.
right? But the
Very
problem,
boring. People didn't like TOA. It was boring
and
as hell.
I agree with that, and I do appreciate that the bosses are like now actual bosses. But to like also go off of what Saint said, yeah, parrying is really important, but it feels like parrying is like the only in-game mechanic that you can use to actually help you. If you're dodging, that's time that you're not doing DPS, and it like for example, the Dragon of Dirge, when he does that like 3-hit
But dodge
combo.
counters exist, do they not?
Yeah, but if you dodge counter, you're gonna get hit by the combo that the dragon does.
You're
So you have to
invulnerable.
dodge
You're
3 times in a
invulnerable
row.
during dodge counter animations.
There have been so many times where I've been knocked out. So maybe
There are 1 or 2 characters that don't have it, but 90% of the 95% of the roster is invulnerable during their dodge counters.
okay. But
Can
I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
No, you go. No. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had a question. It wasn't something, so I want to
Oh.
let you finish speaking. Yeah.
I was just gonna say it just feels like if you're not attacking at like almost every point in the game, it's like you're just losing too much time.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base here. I feel like the original question was, how do we feel about TOA? And I think we're kind of trying to attack 2 separate arguments at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I think Blazion's going with the characters, and we're kind of talking about like bosses. So I feel like maybe if you can center it in, because I think overall there is a problem with like Lampy Lumen's AI, and I think maybe Light Crusher's a little bit HP inflated. But other than that, the actual physical floors, from what everyone is at least describing, seems to be enjoyable and fun. I just kind of, because I feel like
with Light Crusher, I know I'm like a casual casual with a side of casual, but like I did it once, but I didn't even notice him. Like, bro just died. Like, you just move on to the next one.
Who did
I don't
you
know.
use?
Like,
Out of curiosity, V. What did you use with Light Crusher?
I was using Gian. I was using Gian in more Tefi. I guess maybe I have an E1 Gian. Maybe that matters.
no.
I just whooped the guy. Just all right.
Okay,
Yeah.
but so then, and I'm not trying to take the reins for you, saying I'm just trying to make sure because I'm trying to follow along with everything, but I feel like we're kind of bouncing back a little bit. I'm just a little confused.
So I think it's
Yeah,
worth
you got
just
it.
redirecting the discussion over here. Clearly, right? We're taking a bunch of different. I think we're all kind of going off in some different directions. Unfortunately, Blazing, I think you did go on a bit of a tangent over there. Getting into like the whole 1.0 character issues and stuff. That's definitely something.
Yeah, my bad. I should just talk about that later instead of talking.
That's definitely something that we'll talk
Yep.
about on the agenda. But we're kind of like jumping. We're jumping around a little
Yeah.
bit. So the main. So I think to kind of like just cap off the discussion on the enemies. There are a lot more enemies that have very annoying mechanics that will trigger unless you do specific things in your fight that, honestly, I wouldn't say that they're the most crazy things to do. It's A, parry Hikate's attacks, or B, simply break a certain enemy in time. And every single character in the game, right, is always going to have access to these abilities, right? Unless you're using a full gun team, like, you would have to use, like, I think Chisha, Mortifi, and Alto all on the same team. Somebody on your team can parry. Unless you're using a team that never uses an intro skill or you're going solo, you're always going to be able to break a boss like the Fallacy of No Return or the Light Crusher by spamming intro skills, because they deal a fuck ton of damage to break bars. So it's just, those are all things that every character in the game has, like, the tools, or at least every team in the game has the tools to be able to tackle. And so the Lampy Lumen is one of those bosses where it's just like, no matter what you do, no matter how well you play, there are just some units that are getting fucked way more than others just because of like how the enemy is designed. And so that I think that's why we're all highlighting it as the most specific example of like egregious enemy design in this TOA, because all the people I feel like that are isolating and talking only about it as the main issue have gone ahead and have already seen what the other fights are like when you do interact with the baseline mechanics in a very, like in a simple sort of way. And I feel like it's just that's probably like a good comparison that we can draw on, because there's an example of good mechanics in enemies and then bad ones. And the Lampy Lumen is without a doubt just a congregation of very, very bad things that leads to very big differences in your performance, not based off of your damage output, but the character that you end up fucking playing. I think that's a good spot for us to kind of like just finish talking about the enemy design. What about the buffs?
I like them. I like them a lot. I really like the fact that they're basically like buffs in 4 stages. So you have like 4 different opportunities that every character, if you play to a gameplay standard, you can get buffs. I actually hold my hands up. I don't mind that there are like buffs for shield characters on a banner. Because I'm one of those people that's of the opinion, if people are going to spend money for a character, at least for one reset, make them feel good. Or really like extremely powerful compared to like a normal baseline. I don't particularly care about that too much. But there's other buffs that are there for people to use. And I think it's great. I think the problem is, though, that, like, that's really hard to balance. Like, it's really, really hard to balance. And I think that's, like, a problem Kuro's going to come up against. We're going to have a lot of resets where they try to balance 4 different buffs together. And they're going to fuck up. And things aren't going to feel great. And that's what I worry about with them. But overall, I like them.
I agree with, like, I mean, them making buffs around the new character, that's almost inevitable. I think the biggest issue is more like the difference between the current banner team versus every other team. Because if you play an Augusta team, like, I guess almost flawlessly, you could easily get like 4 minutes left over. But like any other team, it starts getting a little... I don't mind them being the strongest to use. The discrepancy should be lower though.
I agree with what he said. I mean, it's comical that I can basically face tank with Augusta, Verena, Mortefi, and hit timers of almost an extra minute plus. Meanwhile, I'm putting a lot of effort in Gian, Yuno, Shakona, and this is not a this is a premium team basically. Instead of the 14, 15 seconds, I do it in 25 or 30 seconds. But it's still a premium team when compared to a simple Augusta, Verena, Mortefi. It's too much.
What's your idea
of
a comfortable clear? Of a clear time, like how much time remaining? Yeah, what's would you find as a comfy clear?
I would feel like a comfortable clear would be above 30, 35 extra seconds probably.
Okay, so let's just say like a previous like meta or like premium team can still comfy clear, but Augusta clears in like a minute because it's a shield thing. Is that a problem to you or not?
If it's like a free-to-play Augusta team being able to do it, when you compare it to a premium team of 3 limited characters, Yuno, Shakona, and Gian, doing it
they still
in
comfy
half the
clear,
time,
right? But their buffs aren't made for them, right? So like, is that a problem for you? I'm just trying to get like visual baseline of like where it becomes a problem.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. The thing is, for example, if we compare the basic normal team that Gian has, which is Shorekeeper, Mortefi, and Gian, it's not going to be a comfortable clear. That is not a comfortable clear. Most of the time you are failing. Other times you are succeeding it in like 10 seconds, 10 extra seconds, or 5 extra seconds, or 15 extra seconds. That is not a comfortable clear, because you're doing it continuously until you actually do it. That is not a comfortable clear. A comfortable clear for me is a clear that you can do it like 3 times in a row, for example.
I was just really asking like the time, like what you consider.
Time,
like,
yeah.
if one was
I believe it's like 20, 30 seconds. I think like there's a lot of room to make mistakes there, I believe.
It's also dependent on how well you play it, right? So like,
well, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things, right? I think to really bundle down about, I guess, some of the examples that we're throwing in is a Gian team, at least on floor 3, should be pretty reliably clearing, assuming that you play, I would say it at like a higher level. It should be clearing at around 20 with like 25 seconds left. That's typically like the normal range for a Gian team if you're doing things like his Qinglong cancels and stuff like that. So I've actually seen your gameplay, Blazion, of when you're using your Gian team. And essentially what you're doing is you're liberating on Gian and then holding down the left mouse button. Which is a fine way to play him. You're showing that.
Hey, what video?
You're showing
Like,
that.
I usually do the dash, but hey, I wanted to say something. Like, I did a stream yesterday when I was doing the Ayuno, Shakona, and Gian, and I did it way easier than, for example, the Shorekeeper, Mortefi, Gian. So there's a big discrepancy in between both clears.
Yeah, but
that's for sure.
Your Chacona's S6, right?
I'm not using her as much. I'm just using her ultimate just to buff.
Her S2 gives a 40% arrow damage bonus to the entire
Yes, that's exactly why I'm using her. I'm just using her with Gust of Vulcan, and I'm not using her as a DPS right there.
Yeah, I'm saying that like
it's not going to be good for a baseline. You're not going to get a good comparison if you're using, let's say, an S6 Mortefi with an S0 Shorekeeper, although you are not using Shiakona's attacks. So her fundamental base attacks, like her Forte and stuff, are not going to give you as much damage since you're not using that. You're getting a 40% arrow damage amplification on top if you have her weaponed.
But you realize that was the idea that I had in the beginning, right? So when I have Shakona S2, that's what matters. It's not the S6, because all the rest of them is to buff up the Shakona's personal damage.
Yeah,
so if I'm just using her to buff 40% arrow damage, right? I'm buffing Yuno, right? And also Gian. That's what I'm saying. Even if I'm using her S6, I'm not using her on field. Now, I have the idea that even if I'm using Gian, right? If I was using Shakona or Yuno and switching between them, I would, and using Shakona as a DPS, right? I would be doing more damage than the Gian himself.
Wait, but hold on. You have to understand the reason why you're doing more damage is because Yuno's getting the buffs from the shields, right? So like, my question here is what, because we could say that Gian could potentially be struggling in this content. Sure, whatever. I don't really care. What does that test do? And I'm not trying to be a dickhead to you. I'm trying to understand your logic here in the sense of like, what am I missing that is not clicking with me? I don't understand where this test, you can't really compare this to a S6 4-star. You are getting
you're comparing an S0 Shorekeeper, S6 Mortefi, 4-star Mortefi, and S0 R1 Gian to the equivalent of, let's just say your Chacona's not S6. She's still S2. That's 3 copies of a limited unit to get her to S2. You already have more limited units of pulls in your Chacona than the entire Mortefi team. That's 2 limited units. Your Chacona by itself is already 3. And
on top of the buff, yes.
On top of the buff, right? There's like that whole thing. And then you have Yuno coming in with her buff, also benefiting from getting
the 40% arrow damage.
A whole extra 3 cost of elemental damage. And and Gian is getting 40% elemental damage for arrow.
And 50% heavy from the Yuno's Ultra.
Yeah, naturally, right? That you would get that regardless of if the Chacona was S2. But yes, having 40% more damage on your Yuno and Gian is going to make that a more comfy clear. I think even just there's no universe where it wouldn't be more comfy. So it's like...
Exactly, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you can still see the difference between the damage that Gian does with or without those characters on the team.
Yeah,
right?
Because
for example, use
as a standalone.
Give me a second. For example, in the case of the Augusta team, now I did this a lot yesterday. Okay, I did the Verena Mortefi Augusta team. The clear difference between this and Verena Ayuno Augusta was 10 seconds of a difference. Yuno compared to Mortefi. That's the only difference. Between those two and Augusta, that's the only difference. 10 seconds extra time. Right? That in itself showcases that Yuno, first of all, isn't much of a difference in the Augusta team, because Augusta is already doing a lot of damage, so it doesn't really matter that much. But in the case of Gian, right? In the case of Gian, it's a difference between me being able to clear it consistently and me struggling to clear it consistently. That's the issue. Like Gian and other... Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, okay. So I think I understand what you're trying to say. And I think your experiment is not necessarily wrong. I think you can't use it with your account. Because you're not going to get, your results are going to continuously be skewed. Yeah. So like, I'm not trying to be a dick when I say this.
Here.
You're getting a 40% buff from Shiakona S2 on top of her weapon, on top of the Uno buff.
I was 6.
Like there's nothing. Well, yeah, S6, but we're just going with the S2 buff in itself. Like right now, this experiment, you would have to go back using all S0 5-stars. Like this is not.
Why I did that? It's very simple. It's because I don't want Gian to actually feel the power creep. That's why I wanted to get Shakona, and also wanted to get a Yuno, and to make him at least viable for probably the next patches still. That's the only reason why. But yeah, also, I mean, yeah, go on.
You said you weren't really using Chakona that much. Were you just doing like a normal rotation, or were you just like throwing her out, pressing the button, and then leaving?
Most of the time I would start with the Forte, full stack in the Forte, using the Forte one time, and then I would my ultimate swap to Ayuno, do her own rotation, getting the 40% auto damage buff, and then I would give all the buffs, pass on to Gian, and that's basically the rotation itself. Right.
So that's one of those things where it's like
sometimes I do something else. Sometimes I, for example, start with Shakona, go to Ayuno, who's the ult, go to Shakona again, and then Ayuno, then Gian. It's different. Like I did that yesterday, and I can confirm that the timers are around 30 to 35 seconds continuously. Like, and I can do it very easily without yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
I guess I'm personally
it's
not
the premium whale team,
So I guess even at a baseline, it's Shakona Gian is one of the best teams in the game. That is like currently actually Gion's best overall performing team. Even at like S0 R1, it's his best team, right? It's 3 premium units. I hope the team with 3 premium units is stronger than the team with 2 premium units. And so I guess that's part of what your take is.
My argument
the team
is that... Sorry, I was going to say my argument is that the team that has the Verena and the Mortifi can still do way better than the premium team. So how can you say that's the best team of the game? If that's the case.
You're not saying the best team of the game. You're just saying it's a solid team.
I'm saying it's the best Gian team.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So I didn't understand. I thought you were saying that was the best team of the game. That's why I was like, no, it's not, because it's obviously August and the other two. But what about, for example, Shangli Lupa brand? How would you classify this? Is this better or worse than Shangli Lupa brand? The Gian team that you said.
I'm not sure why we're...
I think it's because 3 premium units, 3 premium units. I think it's he's comparing.
Comparing between the two.
This argument doesn't make sense. Can I just say this argument makes sense because now we're basing like what teams are good based on the current TOA cycle, right? I think it's really hard to judge like all these teams based on like one reset. We need to like see consistency through a few resets before we could be like, what teams are like actually good in these floors.
So I
feel like this is kind of like a poisoned argument.
I just want to reiterate that this discussion started based off of the buffs. That's yes. Where we started this discussion. Yes. And I do believe that the example that we were trying to go with was the buffs are very strong. I think Kat made the take of it's not really an issue if the buffs are particularly strong because the cycle only lasts for 30 something days. And as long as other teams are, getting a comfortable level of performance, then one team or one archetype in particular, one character getting exceptional performance isn't that much of an issue because, well, in 30 days, it'll be the next person up for their time in the sun. And then the Augusta, whatever team is just going to be, sideline, but still perform. Yeah. You can literally see that in action currently live, where if you take Augusta's team into side 1 of the TOA, her team doesn't feel that great here. Yeah, Augusta's team doesn't feel that great on this side, nor does it feel that great on this side. She's got no bonuses. She doesn't have a buff that interacts with her. You use Augusta Shorekeeper Mortifi here, and then, well, you'll kind of just feel like it's the same exact performance, or actually worse than some of the other premium teams in the game. So it's kind of just like, I do think like the main thing is like it's like a buff, and simply the strength of them. That's kind of like the discussion that's happening over here. I mean, this is just my personal take on the matter. I don't think that there's that much of an issue with having a shield buff like this if all the other teams do feel like they're in a relatively okay, good, comfortable spot for clearing.
Yeah.
But when you get to the point where it feels like you need to interact with the buffs to have any shot of clearing, then that's a bit of that's much more of like a pronounced major issue. And
Absolutely.
I don't think we're at
I can agree on that.
I don't think we're at the point where it feels like you need to interact with the buffs to clear, because guess what, guys?
No.
I've gotten like Jian runs, Camellia runs. The only character I can't get clears with is Zhang Liao Yinlin, but that's a separate issue. You just can't. That team
Wait, on the last
Sucks.
yeah, Zhang
on the
Liao
last floor in
Yinlin
Middle
is
Tower?
literally 10
Yep.
it's 20% less damage than Jian Mortefi.
It's horrible.
That's
It's actually
I think
It's,
insane.
they deal 20% less damage than Jian Mortefi. And that's why Jian Mortefi teams are able to clear through all of this. Zhang Liao Yinlin is reverse power creep. We'll discuss that later, though.
I was actually doing some like runs yesterday or like last night, and we're talking about the last floor, right, in Middle Tower
Yeah,
with Shang Liao Yinlin. I was able to clear, but
like one
that
time.
is definitely because I had Shorekeeper S2.
Oh, okay, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Once you start
So-
factoring that into the equation, then we could just throw all the examples out the window. 'cause
So
yes,
I mean,
SCR
I do
win.
appreciate that almost every character can interact with the buff in one way or another. Obviously, heavy attackers are going to be more,
Absolutely.
viable.
Mhm.
That's part of the incentive of get the new stuff, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the buffs are good. It's not. It punishes you if you don't dodge. I didn't even.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Saint was in my chat. I didn't read the buff. I was just getting hit the whole time after using my liberation. I was like, all right, let's just. I beat it. I beat it without the buff active, but it was only by like 1 second. Right.
Yeah.
But I think overall,
reactive buffs are good.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
I
gonna
think
say,
it's good.
I was gonna
do
say.
we like? Oh, sorry. No, you go.
I was just when it just comes to the buff, I do have some suggestions though for what I think would make the buffs feel even better. If you just take a look at my screen right now, we have things like this first buff over here. 60 seconds after the battle starts, Resonator's total damage is increased by 5%. I personally think this number should be a little bit higher, maybe 7.5%, so that it goes up to like a
that's, part of
90%
the
cap
buff.
total. Once you get like 2 minutes into the fight. Because the idea, right, is that, okay, this is clearly meant to, like, help out those that are, like, lower investment. Maybe they don't have signatures. Maybe their echo builds are a little bit interesting. And so having this buff increase to maybe 90% total the longer the fight goes on, I feel like is a pretty good idea if the HP is going to stay this way. Yes, pretty much most teams in the game are able to clear. But the thing is, there are some teams that literally can't. And, I think they just had to be factored in because, it's...
Yeah.
Either the HP on the mobs get lowered or this thing gets slightly increased. I think it's one of the two. The second thing that I would do is probably increase the duration of this buff over here. It only lasts 6 seconds, right? When you refresh a shield, your damage is increased by 16% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. I think that it should be like 10 seconds, if not longer, so that you have more available teams, like a John Shin or something like that, or like, you can fully stack it up and then on-field your guy, and then get 10 seconds, right, to actually damage the enemy versus just 6. Because 6 feels way too short, especially knowing that there's only 2 other shielders in the game who can apply this buff. You have Tao Chi and John Shin, right? And it's not like they're crazy viable characters anyways. Augusta and Yuno are maxing this out immediately, and they're never having downtime on it. Tao Chi and John Shin have to be played in a very specific way to even access this for their team, and they go through all that work and then they only get 6 seconds. So it's kind of just, I think that needs a little bit more balancing if you're going to go through the effort of actually slotting those units onto your team and using them. You got to get more of a reward out of that. But those are like my main things. It's just like a slight bump up over here, and then, making the shield buff more accessible if you're going to jump through hoops to activate it. So that you get more of like a reward on that end for, interacting with these new things.
Yeah.
I was
Do you
gonna say-
think, though, that we're gonna have like a problem with balancing for a long time. Like we kind of know that's kind of Kuro's weak point when it comes to like I want to say endgame design is being able to balance things, and we get resets like pretty frequently. So do we really think we can guarantee that every reset they're gonna make something that's like actually well balanced that we don't complain about, or are we gonna be complaining often? I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I mean this in no offensive way. I think that's an impossible question to even answer or consider, because it's like, we're now theory crafting.
I think it's a simple question, to be honest.
We're kind of like theory crafting what the next buff could
Oh, no, for
possibly
sure.
be, but it's also like
Oh no, no, totally. I'm just saying because there's so many parts to the buff. It's like very easy to like get balancing wrong. It's just something to watch out for. Not like how do you think? Like it's just that's what I'm saying. It's just to watch
Wait,
out for.
I think I have a pretty good question. Maybe you could tie into that. I feel like if they kept these buffs and just changed it instead of heavy attack to resonant skill, resonant separation, whatever it is, I'd be fine with it.
Mhm.
I actually think these buffs themselves, like if you want to buff, like actually buff the up times, it's fine. But if this was like the static buff for the next like 6 months, I wouldn't be mad about it. Because it's
Yeah, it's
how
an
much
universal buff.
well, yeah, but like how much can you incentivize them to increase skill, right? You either have to dodge and parry. And so like this buff is based off of dodging, so you don't get hit. And I feel like maybe if you want to just keep this one, I'd be cool with that. You know, so
I
that
think
way we
they
don't run
typically
through
are
it
going to
like
keep
that.
trying a bunch of to see what they can get away with. If, for example, I read the last line. The last line kind of got my eyebrow up. Enemies have 10% take 10% less damage unless you're shielded.
Mhm.
Right? That's kind of HP inflation in a way if you're not carrying a shield with you, which is weird to me in the sense of if we're going to complain about buffier and bulkier enemies in the end game, well, why is that there? Why would that be even a thing over there? What I'm trying to say with this is this: they will keep throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks and see how bad the community reacts to that particular thing. No, I don't think I wanna
so every character in the game can activate the shield. You gain a shield upon using your liberation. So it's not like some inaccessible 10% damage increase buff that you only get from like having a shielder on your team. Every person can shield themselves by using their liberation and gain access to the 10% bonus damage.
Okay. So
I think it's
we can
fine
dodge. I'm
that-
hearing in chat you can dodge that too.
Oh, yeah.
think-
That shield is permanent after using your liberation. And so if you dodge enough or don't get hit, then you can have permanent uptime on that damage increase buff. So that's
Okay,
kind of
so-
like
so
that's
you
where the
pop the
don't
ult
hit stuff from this TOA comes from.
And keep dodging to maintain the shield is
Yeah.
basically what I.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
I
Yeah, but
think it's
still,
fine
like for
that-
Unga Bunga players like me, it's penalizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah,
know
the
that,
only
actually. That's-
character you
yeah.
can Unga Boonga with is Augusta and Yuno. Otherwise, your shield is probably going to drop.
Yeah.
Well,
Just don't get
Augusta
hit, you know?
shielded ass. Like, what's that? Like, it's the smallest yellow bar I've ever seen. It's like the small bit of mustard in your fries.
Yeah. It's just enough for a hit.
So you know how we were talking about the resonator's total damage increasing over time?
Yeah.
Would we prefer a more static, just like, let's say 40-50% for the whole run? Or do we like the fact that it's a scaling buff?
I prefer the nature of a ramping buff. It allows this is like I think it's a good concession for like those that are heavy investors where they can feel like the start of their runs are a little bit more difficult or sweaty, but then it equalizes it out for every other player simply by going a minute into the clear.
Mhm.
Right. And so even if you're somebody that has like an S2 or you have like the most cracked echo set ever, you can still feel like there's some degree of like a challenge, at least at the beginning of the run.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get a minute in, right, the damage starts ramping up a little bit more in my suggestion. And then, you know, those that are maybe lower invested are able to catch up on the damage end from there. But chances are, if you're somebody that was, you know, not really needing the buff, you'll clear the stage relatively fast anyways.
I was just saying because I think the damage buff is fine for certain characters, but other characters really don't get to make full advantage of it. For example, like we were saying Shang Liao, right? Shang Liao is someone that doesn't really have like his damage burst is very instantaneous. It's a very like short window. Most of his damage is coming from his ultimate. So him having to use effectively like 10% attack buff for a lot of the early game, it does kind of hinder his performance. At least that's what I saw. If that makes sense.
Are we talking about heavy attack?
No, I'm just meaning like characters that have like shorter damage windows.
The damage window shouldn't really matter too much because it's you're
Or
gonna
like-
have to
like,
do
for
multiple
example-
rotations.
Yeah, but like for example, Shang Liao, right? Most of his damage is coming from the initial Resonance Liberation. He obviously has like the next 3 empowered attacks, but like
Yeah, like each rotation in that team takes like 30 seconds. So you'll do like 2 before the buff is active, and then you'll do many more with the buff starting to activate. Like my Zhang Liao Liberation at the start of a TOA run does like 240k. By the end, it's dealing like 400 something k.
Yeah, it's just the first rotation. It's obviously you're not going to do as much damage, but you just do way more damage on the second rotation and the rotations afterwards.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
might
not
be
an issue.
referring to the other buff from shielding, where after using a liberation, you gain 16% damage bonus because of the shield. Or you might be talking about that one. So yeah, there are definitely some characters that can front load a lot more of their damage in the buff. Thing with that is that Zhang Liao does front load a good bit, but then his cubes afterwards, right, won't necessarily be buffed. And so that's kind of the problem. He gets I think he gets the initial liberation cast and then one cube, and then the rest of them won't really have the damage buff. Okay.
Other than that,
I may be a grandpa for this one, but I gotta say, I miss the old Havoc are increased here, and Spectro is decreased resistance. That's the buffs for the room. Have fun. Collect colors in your account, so that way you're better geared for the color that's going to be random in the end game, and that's it. That's it.
Now,
man.
is it worse or better compared to that?
I like it like that, man. It reminds me
I
like
think
Pokemon, where okay, if you pick the fire team, it's gonna be good against the grass team in this particular end game. That's simple. That's it. Just play. You collect stuff to better gear for those things. That's it. That's
I mean,
simple.
call me simplistic, but I also agree with that, honestly. Like, oh, the glacial characters cannot do damage here. Great, just use
Okay,
one
yeah.
of the other elements. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
there we go.
There's a lot more leeway for you to I actually said it perfectly, Saints. There's a lot more leeway for you to actually use other characters and other elements to actually clear the run. You don't actually need to completely shield and use the specific unit of the patch. I actually believe that was a lot better
It's
before.
good to be there, though. I know that for me, as my type of player, the last two floors are not for me. This is not for my type of player, and I understand that. That's why it's not an issue for me. I can't have everything be for me. They're trying to appeal to a big player base. So some things are going to be for the casuals, some things are going to be for the tryhards, for the sweaties.
So what you're saying is we need something for the whales as well. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you want to pull a
Another one have
Genshin,
That's
one
WhiWa,
name.
bro.
Oh.
if you want to pull a Genshin, bro, I don't know what to tell you. Isn't there endgame in Genshin like super mega whaley? Is what I heard. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Wait, so I have a question. Do you guys think that these 1.0 units are falling off to kind of ring it back in?
Yeah.
Because like to ring it back in, I feel like you go, Cap. I was just gonna say the one that I really struggled with was Zhang Liao, but yeah, what do you think, Cap?
Okay, listen, I hate using Camellia on everything now. Camellia is like officially benched for me. I hate her. I don't like using her. I think that's another thing about the new floors in TOA. Because it's longer. You do more rotations now, and it's a longer time to like kill and end. It exposes like a lot of weaknesses, and maybe you're also like something I noticed in your 1.0 like characters like echoes, like my actual investment on my characters I noticed, right? And because like the time to kill is longer, there's more chances for like your weaknesses in what you have equipped to kind of show up. Like maybe not having enough ER, maybe you don't have enough crit rate, so your nukes aren't going off as much if you're using Camellia. It exposes more of those things. So I don't know if that's part of the issue for me of using Camellia, or if it's like I just can't. I've tried so much to use her at 3-4, and I just simply can't. And I'm using, just for the record, like Camellia, Sanhua, Verena, or Shorekeeper, like both. It's an impossible task. So like I feel like that's this kind of a thing for me of like time to kill has like kind of changed that for me a little bit.
So I think to kind of like push back on this idea that 1.0 units are absolutely like completely all struggling, I think there's a couple of like just baseline facts that we should probably get like straightened out.
Yeah.
I'm 99% sure people's 2.0 characters are built way better than their 1.0 ones.
I agree.
And
the sets too are better.
Yeah, so that, not even talking about the sets, right? Think about everything that got added recently that streamlines your 2.0 Echo loadouts. You have Echo loadouts just there, right? Then you have this situation where things like modifiers, more tuners, blah 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 are all getting given out, right? As part of like 2.0's quality of life. And so you have like Nightmare Nest as well, which allows you to mix and match pieces so you can get the best of one set and then use like new stuff of the other. All of these new Echo sets, people typically are going to have way better builds on. And I think Gotcha Smack actually did a run through, right, where he was talking about how his Augusta team was comparing to the Zhang Liao. Yes, Augusta's better at a baseline, but his Echoes, right, are way better on his Augusta set than they are on the Zhang Liao set. And I think that's
Yeah.
a very common situation that a lot of people testing right now are going to run into. Your 2.x builds are just going to be way better than your 1.0 ones because you had way less farming you needed to do to get the pieces you need. You got modifiers to roll more, and it's just like it's like better to farm because you have like different task fields or different methods of obtaining them. You also have more merging that you can do, and you can like streamline the merging. Your echo quality on average is going to be a lot higher. People are trying out their 1.0 characters just to like think about like test them all out. And they're probably running some pretty dog shit builds. I didn't even realize how bad some of my 1.0 units actually were in comparison. And when that's what we're bringing to the table at a baseline, yeah, like oftentimes, right? The Camellias can be falling behind. Then you look at how your Frolova's built, and you're like, oh, she's like 30 times better than my fucking Camellia just off substats. And obviously that's going to be a big part of it.
I would argue, though, that I would argue that's definitely part of it, but like I know for me personally, that's like not the issue. Like I know my Camellia is like still built decently, which is why I think like it could be for another time. But like talking about echo sets is important because I think that's like way more of a contributing factor. But that's
why
don't we talk about
also like
why don't
like other 1.0 characters? We have to realize like I feel like it's only in 2.0 we're actually getting like full on teams that we enjoy using and have sort of like a meta in terms of like team lineup that we didn't have for 1.0 characters. Like I'm still using Camellia and Sanhua and Verita, whereas I'm using like every other 2.0 like lineup that's like more fun. Like I feel it's a lot of people are using stuff that is not.
Wait, what do you mean by
current teams?
that? I think I'm kind of lost there because 1.0
has like dedicated supports.
Like Jian goes with Mochefi, Jija goes with Jinsei, Changli goes
but
with
like Changli doesn't have like a proper team until now, right? Like
No,
really
she
until
didn't.
like
it wasn't
have it in
fully
1.2.
streamlined, but for the time and for what the game was in that time, they worked.
Yeah, so
they worked.
So
and everything was different.
The thing is that very many 1.0 units don't actually have their optimal teammate. For example, Jian does not have a 20% arrow, 25% heavy attack sub DPS. He doesn't have that. Jinsei doesn't have a 50% resonance skill on outro coordinated attacker. Like how does that for Augusta and heavy attack, right? Zhang Liao's the only team. He had Yinlin. They're technically like the duo, but they are also the worst performing team in the game. They're literally worse than Jian with Mortefi. They're literally worse than Havoc, Rover, and Sanhua. They're literally worse than they're the worst team. They're literally mathematically, they're a complete team with the limited sub DPS, the limited DPS, and the limited support, and it's the lowest damaging team in the game. So
that's also the issue of Shingleo. That's also the issue of Yinlin.
They're just reverse power creep.
So this is Dr. Ratio?
No, it's Yinlin. It's Yinlin sucking dick. It's Yinlin being the worst character.
So it's not Chang Liao, it's Yinlin.
She should be a standard character.
It's Yinlin.
It's Zhang Liao's not the problem. It's Yinlin sucking ass. Because Zhang Liao can be played in dual DPS and work out just fine. He still kills everything in dual DPS. Yinlin's just dog shit. She's literally the worst option on every single team she can be in. Any team you can fathom her on, there's a better option.
Yep.
Pull for dudes, chat. Pull for
example, in the case of GC,
banner. Get her out.
In the case of GC, you got Zesi. In the case of Zhengliao, I mean, you don't even care about Yinlin. You can just use Shangli, for example. The fact that Yinlin herself, during her entire off-field damage, she's not doing anything. If you notice the coordinated attacks that she does, they deal close to nothing. That just hurts like a wet napkin. It just doesn't do anything. Yinlin is probably the worst limited 5-star character ever, and I'm pretty sure there is no reason to pull for her other than pulling for String Master because it's a really good weapon overall.
Yeah, her kit,
there's no reason to pull for her.
She basically does some of the lowest damage out of all the sub DPS characters. And Zhang Liao is somebody that really wants good off-field damage with how long his rotation takes. And like the end result is that team hilariously underperforms in every single regard, just at a baseline. And so when people do power creep comparisons, right? They talk about how bad Zhang Liao is in comparison to Augusta. We gotta be honest here. Zhang Liao got power crept by Jian. Zhang Liao got power crept by fucking Jinsei. Zhang Liao got power crept by Camellia. Every team in the game is better than his. So to make the take, Augusta power crept Zhang Liao, you're technically correct, but so did every other team in the game.
Okay.
So that's something
that is the
I think
take.
is just like a good disclaimer, especially when we're beginning
Oh,
those types of
buff Finland
discussions.
is what we're saying.
But that is exactly the take. So basically, there's been a lot of HP inflation already on TOA. And the reason why these specific units didn't feel that is because in 2.0, we got the differences in like the Nightmare Echoes. For example, in the case of Changli, she had the Inferno Rider that gave basic attack. That didn't matter to her. However, Nightmare Inferno Rider, that gave skill damage, which is really good. In the case of Shangliao, the same thing. In the case of Camellia and Havoc Rover as well, the Nightmare Crownless, or in the case of Gian, that you got the Nightmare Monkey.
We get it. You don't got to list off every Nightmare Echo in the game. We got after the first. We got the first after the first two.
But yeah, in that specific case, with the HP increase, we got slight buffs on these specific units in 1.x. However, the HP kept increasing, and these characters, well, they stayed in the same way. So when new characters join the battlefield, right, the oldest characters, especially, Sheng Liao, Camellia, and whatnot, they are gonna get power crept at some point. It's just, we already know that for a fact. Now, I would go further on and say that probably it's the issue of the old sets, of the old Sonata sets, because there's a huge difference between the newest Sonata sets and the old sets. And I feel like these oldest units using these sets, it's not because they're badly built. Maybe yes, but I don't think that's the only issue. I feel like the old sets are also like, they are showing that they are outdated already.
Okay,
the old Sonata
sets. I'm not entirely sure what your first point was, but the second point of the old sets not definitely being outdated, I think that's entirely true. I guess the first one was that like the power creep is like, I'm not really sure what the summary of like the first point was.
I was basically saying that the old units, right, they are always gonna feel bad because they are losing compared to the newest units because of the HP increase on the endgame mode. Just because, they got a slight buffs, right, it still doesn't matter. They are still gonna be bad per se. At some point, they will feel power crept when compared to newer units like Carlotta, Zani, or even Cartithia and Augusta. So it's bound to happen.
Yeah, so
it's inevitable happening.
So here is the kind of like HP inflation take, kind of like in real time. I've actually got like some charts and stuff. So essentially, in version 2.4 of the game, that's the only time that we really had, I would say, like probably after. So there's a history of HP inflation in Wuthering Waves, right? I got like a chart over here. You guys can check out my stream to take a look at it. Basically, our first instance of HP inflation was actually in version 2.0 of the game, and that was after the introduction of Nightmare Echoes, right? So everyone just got a 4 cost that increases their baseline power level. HP inflation in the game mode overall, not really too much of a concern, right? Because everyone literally got stronger. Then we get into 2.4, right? And this is where we see another slight increase. Not a particularly large amount at all, right? Just especially when you compare it to this initial trend. And in 2.4, one thing for certain happened. We got a lot more full 3-person specific tailored teams, right? We got the whole Zani, Phoebe, Spectral Rover. We got the Arrow Rover, Cartithia, Chacona. We got the fusion team as well, right? With Lupa, Changli, Brant. And that's where kind of like the power ceiling of these games sort of increased. I wouldn't say it's because of the individual character level, but because these full 3-person teams have come out. So the first increase is due to Nightmare Echoes. Then the second increase is due to literal full 3-person teams that take out the generalist support. Because, right, having a Shorekeeper for your Lupa, for your Brant Chang Li team was way weaker than having a Lupa. But you're still using like the same Brant and the Chang Li, but the team got stronger. It's kind of like how you see like the 3 archetypes of the Spectro Frazzle team, the Arrow Rover team, or the Arrow Erosion team, and then the Fusion team. Then you have the Forlova team as well, right? Which is kind of like the Havoc side of the equation. Another 3-person specialized lineup. And that's where there was another HP increase. And so there's actually been an HP decrease relative to it since then, where the HP has actually gone down. And that is where we're currently at right now. So you can notice that the HP increases have actually occurred based off of some very big shifts to like the meta and the game. But it's not necessarily due to the individual strength of characters getting obscenely strong, but more so best in slot teams coming out for characters where like all three of them are specialized for the role and you have no generalists anymore, right? There's no shorekeeper in any of those highest DPS teams. And that's the thing, right?
I mean,
that's the thing.
what can we do for Camellia, for example? Supposedly, wasn't the best teammate supposedly Russia, and you
Well,
know,
that's
we all know what
sucks,
happened.
bro.
That's
For
the
one.
situation.
Yeah.
Is Rosia is an example of a weak ass fucking
Bad.
unit. Rosia is basically Yinlin round 2. She's
Yeah.
also a weak character that doesn't really do that much, but can be an improvement over a Sanhua, but it's sometimes a downgrade. If your Rosia isn't
Hey,
crazy
she groups.
invested, she's a downgrade
groups.
compared to Sanhua.
She's okay. She groups.
No, she's still
No.
she's
Okay,
still fucking bad.
so
right?
She's
if
ass.
that's
So
if that's the case, then I concede my point about Gian. Then the only issues are the characters that cannot have the best sub DPS. For example, in the case of Russia, because she sucks, Camellia and Have a Crover suck. And because of Yinlin sucking,
Zhang
Liao's
Liao
team
sucks.
also sucks.
Yeah, so it's
That's
really
the
like
case.
what there's it you can clearly identify it's like one or two characters in a team that are basically griefing the main DPS in the lineup. And the thing is that when you put in Chacona, Yuno, and Gian is now a top tier DPS. Like he's literally a top tier DPS for every single game mode when you go Chacona, Yuno, Gian. Because now he has that same level of like triple fusion, like no shorekeeper, all like inherent skits that are like heavily benefiting each other. He has that synergy. He goes in and he fucks up the game mode, right?
Yeah, I agree.
That is how it works nowadays. And the thing is that yes, the power ceiling in the game has gone up, but that is a result of these fully tailored teams getting into action. But I don't think it's like the individual strength of these characters are like going out of whack and like certain releases are blowing stuff up just from you having them. And the evidence is, well, use Zani without Spectral Rover, right?
If I may.
Or use Zani without Phoebe. Use
If I may.
Partithia without Chacona.
Ethan, what do you think? Ethan, what do you think, man?
That's not including 3 and Floor's graph, right? That's only
no,
1
it's
and 2.
not. It's not. That's just
Yeah, yeah.
just 1 and 2.
I feel like the discussion of HP inflation at the moment. Cap brought this up the other day when I was speaking to her, so I'm stealing Cap's point a little bit. Where it's not, we can't really say it's HP inflation yet, right? Cap can elaborate on that, but I feel like we could really sit down with our pitchforks and riot if the next patch, if the next reset, if people are really struggling. I feel like a lot of the issues coming right now are from the dog shit AI and the Light Crusher. I really do. Other than Zhang Liao and Yinlin, because that's just fucking ass.
Just an awful
I really truly believe if we get a boss that's not annoying and a group of mobs that are not annoying as fuck, I do think people are going to perform a lot better as well. But yeah, Cap, if you want to elaborate on the HP thing, I don't want to steal your thunder, but that was a great point.
It's fine. Like the whole HP inflation thing is like, how do we define HP inflation? For the 3 floors to what the HP go up. There's literally more enemies. There's literally more enemies to kill, right? No one's denying that there are more enemies to kill overall. Overall, more HP for you to do. But I feel it's really hard for us to know if have those specific enemies. Is their HP inflated, or is it a amalgamation of like the buffs that we're using as well? I think that's like a thing. Like if we're having that where like actual boss enemy like HP is getting inflated, that's like I don't like that. I don't like that, but I think like it's just like we just have more things to kill.
When you factor in the 30 extra seconds, 30 extra seconds plus the ramping damage buff, I really don't think it's like an HP concern. I genuinely don't think it's like an HP concern when you factor in the extra time and the damage ramp. It's really just there are periods where you're going to be ramped out to the max. You have the 60% damage buff active. You have the 16% from you casting your liberation active, and then you just can't hit the guy. And so your uptime with all of the buffs active, even the one that ramps up just goes out the window because the Lampy Loom is a piece of shit, right? So it's moments like that I feel like are really getting focused on by a lot of people, and it is not letting them clear. They're not dealing damage. But the problem isn't the buffs. The problem isn't the HP. It's the fucking enemy.
So the mechanics of the enemy.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It-
like
it just
even I
sucks.
have like proof of myself that like it sometimes like it took me like 3 days to figure out how to clear
Bruh.
floor 4 with like Zaddy, and then once I figured it out, it was like I could do it consistently every time. So I also feel like it's just I don't know, not that a lot of people are gonna have the skill issue on like the 4th floor, but a lot of people are gonna have to like relearn how to like play a game. I feel
Like the
like
game.
I don't
Which is
know.
good. Which is good.
Well,
Yeah.
I like that. I don't know about you, but I think that's great. That's good game design.
well, that's why like a
Yeah.
character like Yuno is pretty fucking crazy because she could hit you from anywhere on the map. While
Mhm.
you gotta be up front with Gian, you gotta be up front with Zany, you gotta be up front with a bunch of these
Do
other
you
DPSs.
think like for terms of like characters, the fact that exists, like there's more stock placed on like sub DPSs or like support sub DPSs now than even like hyper
100%.
carries. Like that is like the thing,
100%.
and it kind of worries me because that's kind of like the PGR thing a bit of like, oh, you have
Every
like
character
a
can
new
do
like
everything.
support that's like really busted and then that raises like a level. That's something that I'm concerned about, but I can't prove that until later or we get more supports. But like I don't know.
Like, there's a huge difference between the sub DPSs of now versus the sub DPSs
Yeah.
of 2.0, aka Roche and Yinlin. Like, I feel like they
Mm.
improved a lot, but I feel like they went too much. Like the damage of Yuno and Shakona, it's like double, if not triple, the damage of Yinlin. You know?
I kind of like that, to be completely honest with you, because you can't have every 5-star premium unit be good, like as in very strong and should obtain a type of character, because you need those Dea, like Genshin is a good example, is Dea, like a banner that you just skip. Like everybody looks at the character and go, you know what? I don't really need that. I'm okay. Let me save a bit. It's a good breath of
Mhm.
fresh air for people that are after those meta powerful units that can enable them to best clear the end game content. I for one believe it's always been a good thing if you're a sweaty need to perform type of player.
Okay, but isn't it problematic? Imagine if, for example, you are a new guy, right? You grab your Shangliao because you look at him and you think he's a K-pop idol, so you want to get him, and then you see that supposedly he's built with Yinlin. Oh my god, okay, she's so hot. Okay, I'm gonna puff her, and then you go to the end game with them, and then you're just eating dick basically.
Well, that's
And,
where research
you know,
come in. That's where you have people like this, people like that, right? You have all these people on the internet that are about to tell you, "Hey, yo, I don't think that's a good idea." Gotcha needs research. Like that just comes with the territory.
Stink, don't fuck up.
Bro,
I'm not gonna lie.
the worst I've ever seen.
If you want my honest opinion,
vibrated on his.
I
gameplay
truly
right now.
believe, and I mean this sincerely, because the biggest concern I've seen from people is Astrite and HP. I really don't think people would be complaining if the Astrite wasn't in those last 3 floors. I have floor 4
Yeah.
and floor 3.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would care because, like,
Absolutely.
honestly, I don't think they should nerf the HP. I don't think they should nerf the game mode. It's fun as fuck. It's fun for me. And yes, there is a level of legitimacy of like you should not be able to access everything as a new player, absolutely. But if they just gave abundance of tuners and not primos, other shit, I don't think people would be complaining.
I think you guys talked about it a little bit, but do we like the direction that the characters are heading in? Because it's like beyond just doing more damage, every new character just does so much. Like if we compare, like for example, Gion, right? He has his E, and then he has his ultimate, right? And then
Yep.
you get the
It's like a
empowered
Genshin
ultimate.
unit. Yep. That's
And
a
then you
Genshin
look at
unit.
Augusta, who has empowered heavy attack, empowered skill, has the shielding, has 2 ultimates. And then, like, even beyond that, we talk about Yuno, right? Yuno and Judge are in completely different fields. So, I think the reason older characters feel especially shitty is just the design philosophy that Kuro is following has changed so much in a year.
Yeah. They were
I
Genshin
agree.
units because if they expected a bunch of Genshin players coming into the game. Once they've established their own player base, they decided, you know what, it's time to spice it up. Time to establish our own type of game, and hence what we two have today. Yes, Gian is one-dimensional. Yeah, of course.
I would say one thing is that they definitely had a bit of a design philosophy update for version 2.0 of the game. They made
Yeah,
every
for sure.
character a lot
Yeah.
easier to play. And I think part of it is due to the fact that, yes, some of the other, especially the 1.0 units, they naturally have a way higher skill cap. to optimize their rotations. You have to do things like Qinglong cancels, or like, canceling Jinxi's attack animation so you get her laser beam out faster, right? There's a lot of optimizations you need to make in those 1.0 unit teams to have them perform at the same level of the 2.0 ones, but it's there, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
These 2.0 units are very like plug and play. Carlotta being the clearest example of it. Rosia's another great example.
Yeah, that's where I agree. The rest, not really.
There's not really a
Who,
lot
who
of
else
room
besides
to...
Carlota is simple? I can't.
Carlotta
think of
simple.
any.
Phoebe is absolutely brainless. Like she just...
She's not.
Oh, no.
I didn't know she had a blue form until recently. I didn't know that.
Well,
you have
Okay,
to
that's
hold the
that's
thing
like
when it's
totally
blue.
Okay, then don't blame...
I didn't know that.
Don't call a character complex because you haven't read their kit before.
Sir,
I
it
don't
lights
think
up
that's
in
fair.
blue.
I don't think that's
reading
fair.
kits. What the fuck?
I'm not reading that.
Yeah,
Dude,
anyway,
I am not reading all that, bro.
yeah,
Big
so,
ass text on screen. Fuck that.
like
You don't need
brands...
to read it. It lights up in blue, guys. What?
I thought when it's blue, you're supposed to click the E. I didn't think I had to hold the E, transform my cursor to blue.
Did you
and
even
then
do a
start hitting.
tutorial?
I don't read. I'm an
Did you
ex
even do
Yu-Gi-Oh
the
player. We
tutorial? There's
don't read. I'm a
button
gacha
that
player.
takes you
We
to a
don't read.
tutorial. You don't have to read anything. There's a tutorial.
Well, now you'll know.
That's what I'm saying.
Now you know the types of misconceptions that can spawn if you don't read any of the skills in the game. So thank you for...
Don't make them that long, okay?
Thank
I don't
you.
want to read a whole pendulum
Thank you
card.
for
Okay,
the live
wait,
example.
description.
Wait, V has some fucking validity though, bro. I will say these kits being as long as the Declaration of Independence, when you literally
man.
just hit E and
Yeah.
R, this shit is stupid, bro. I'm sorry.
Okay. But
But
I
yeah,
don't
sorry.
know, like, I played
agree
Yuna without ever looking at a guide, so I don't know. Like they're long
She's
for
pretty
no reason.
straightforward. Yeah, you just hit the
Like,
low and
literally.
high.
I will
It's-
say, just as a... do be aware that you guys are on an Endgame discussion podcast, and I do think it's an interesting look to be bragging about how little you try. Or
Don't
how,
say you
or how,
guys.
or
That's
how
two
little,
people.
yeah, like bragging
That's
about
two people.
how
That's
little you
normal.
understand things.
Hey,
That's
you
just
wanted-
my take, but you guys are
You
free to
wanted
do
to-
whatever you like with
That's
your
normal, man.
reputations.
That's
You wanted
normal.
to hear the points of view of a lot of people. Hey, you got a lot
Yeah.
of people. Like, there's people
Exactly.
here that look
It's
at,
not
for
always
example,
sweaty about-
Gian's. No, we look at Gian's information of his kit and we're like, oh, okay, makes sense. We see like a goddamn holy testament
Zani.
of Zani's kit, and I'm like, nah, screw this. I'm gonna wait for the next Saint Tota's guide or something. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
screw this.
Well, no, you can still read it. It's just that it's annoying, Chad. Like,
It's
you
so
know,
much,
if
bro.
you-
When I
if you
read, I don't
read it, it's just
understand.
like
The thing is,
Just
when
like-
after I'm done reading, when I put in the effort, I'm out worse than before. I'm like, okay, I don't get this. What is this? Okay, YouTube.
Okay, that's-
Ain't
that's-
contact. What are we
Goddamn
saying?
Wikipedia article, bro.
Hey,
like,
hey,
fuck
ladies
that.
and
Basically, this
gentlemen,
is the shelf for St. Totus guides. Everyone go watch his guides. There we go.
Never say guide making is difficult. Or sorry, never say guide making is easy.
it's easy. Just steal Sweetly's guide.
It's-
It's very easy.
yeah.
I'm gonna
There we
steal
go.
yours too.
Guys,
Oh, wait, so then- So then wait,
I'll
hold-
try to do the sweet voice though.
does anyone think there's like a problem then, like with the endgame mode, like genuinely?
I
'Cause
think
it
we're
seems
more
like-
so talking about like some of the older kits right now, and
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah.
the main
like-
take is optimizations to some of the older endgame kits or the older unit,
Which is
kits, right?
normal.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Leaps.
It comes with the territory, and I feel like anybody that tries hard to, like, force old units to be in the same power level as the new ones is just in the wrong field. Like, we can't have that. Like, it doesn't work. They're trying to push sales. That's what they do. They need that incentive. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point, Gian will be power crept, and that's
Well,
that's a
hold
fact.
on now. I wanted to bring this up if Saint Chonchas is okay with this. A little topic for you guys is leaping. I mean, we have that in PGR. Yinlin is a problem. You're afraid for Jian. He's the first ever unit. Well, I'm looking at
Okay,
characters like yeah, go ahead, sure.
Even leap skills don't save old PGR units.
Well, we can try doing
Right.
it better over here. Okay, like they don't necessarily have to do it like that. Okay, do a better job of right? So Jian Shen, for example, it's kind of what brought me to Wuthering Waves. I love that character. Not good. Calcharo feels robbed of his own identity due to Chang Liao. I feel like a rework of Calcharo could be a topic, in my opinion. Like stuff like this can be done.
But it's not
What is the
going to. I
standard?
feel like we're kind of like talking about something that's just never going to happen. I don't know.
it's a
I might be
standard.
too doom about it. I feel like it's a pointless argument. Like it's not gonna happen. Maybe like a leap skill, or introduce sets that like more universal sets that old characters can use. Like maybe something like that. But I feel like talking about like a whole like rework of a standard unit characters is never gonna happen. Like it's a pointless thing to. I don't know.
Well,
Devs,
maybe not a
listen,
standard, but like HSR did something. I mean, granted, they didn't do a very good job of it,
Well,
right?
just
Like
standard
that
characters,
system
though.
sucks.
They let
Well,
you
yeah,
get
no.
standard characters easier, but like not like rework them.
Well, I think some of the standard units should probably be touched up on, but I feel like it wouldn't be a horrible
Should be,
thing
yeah,
if like
would
they.
be, probably not.
But like if they're gonna, do something with the Yinlin or like let's just say Jinsei,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever you want. Like I feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it's happened. They're probably more likely just gonna make a team like how you have Kartathia, Arrow Rover, Shiakono, where they're just gonna give you a sub DPS that's gonna raise the power level instead of that. But I don't think it's like
Yeah.
a bad idea. I just don't know if it'll happen.
No,
I guess,
no, I don't
yeah.
think it's bad either. Like to like certain like what characters. No, sure. Like I'd
It's a
love
bit
to.
placebo.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
a bit placebo.
Like,
I don't think
you
it's
should
gonna.
on it, right?
I genuinely think that they don't even need to. This would be my solution for any of the 1.x units. I will be making a video on it later, but this is basically like a sneak preview. It's actually quite simple. You just need to go in. I've got some live demonstrations on my screen. So let's just take a look at what the Sierra Gale Sonata set does. This gives you, essentially, after an intro skill, you get 40% arrow damage. Great, cool, that's a 1.0 set. Let's just look at what Windward Pilgrimage does. It's the same bonus as Sierra Gale, but it just gives you 10% more crit rate.
Yeah.
That's like,
arrow erosion.
it's the same thing as Sierra Gale, but you get 10% more fucking crit rate. That's
And
almost,
instead of intro skill, it's arrow erosion.
yeah, right.
Right.
And Kartithia has it built into her kit. She's the intended user. She can maximize uptime with the buff no matter what, right? When you
Yes.
just look at the fact that there's this much Sonata set power creep, yeah, I can see why in a team where you're using Kartithia, who has her own Sonata set, Chakona, who has one that buffs Kartithia even further, right? When you're interacting with all these different Sonata sets and you're putting them all together, it's not really a surprise at all that these teams, with the new characters, with the new Sonata sets, are doing more damage. Because it's like, hey, if you're using all these 1.0 teams with this literal boo-boo in comparison, this actual trash, this actual garbage, like Freezing Frost, this is 40% glacial damage. You want to know what Carlotta's damage bonus on this set is? It's like 70-something%. She gains a whole, like, 70-something% total damage bonus from Frosty Resolve. It's actually absurd when you compare it to the other options that are available, right? All of these new characters are using all of these new sets. The 3-piece sets.
We have sets power creep.
Yeah, we have an insane amount of sets power creep. And the thing is, it's either one thing that I feel like would be very interesting if Kuro does is literally rework these old Sonata sets to like actually buff them in the back end, bring up the overall numbers so that they're more comparable. Or obviously the other option, introduce new sets that are all tailor-made for the old units that you can just farm. They released some Nightmare Nests back in 1.0 and they let you farm. I think that would be a great solution, actually.
What if we had something that's
release Nightmare Nests in version 1.0 of the game, the Huang Long map, and then make different versions of these, Nightmare Sierra Gale or something, right?
Can I interject?
You can go for that.
For a second. I did talk about this in my community, and I did gave an example of a set that could help buff the oldest units, the oldest DPS. Now I don't know if you think it's a good idea or not, but what do you guys think about the image that I sent on Discord? Like it's something that we don't have yet, which is an attack speed buff that could help out older units. At the moment, we only have the attack speed on the Depths of Elusive Realm, I believe. I think that's the name of that mode, right? That's the mode that gives you attack speed when you select one of the buffs. That helps out a lot of the oldest units, like Gian, for example, of course, like Camellia, like Ava Rover, or even the garbage units like Kalsharo and Lingyang. It could buff all of those characters, and that could also help out these characters that we already have the build done, supposedly, right? By grabbing 2 of the pieces and using it to introduce to the 3-piece Havoc, 3-piece Nightmare Nests. That would be like something that could help out the oldest units, for example. That's just a suggestion. Like it's an idea, for example. Of course, this will never happen, or it might happen. I don't know, but this is just a suggestion.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you guys think?
I mean that's the thing, right? It would definitely be a set that helps. I think it's just in general, right? Having more of these options available for, well, the older users on the roster, right? Camellia is still using dog shit. I mean, every 2.0 unit is basically using a way better set. Every single one is just using a better set. I think Chain
every
Lee's
set is way more tailored. It's way more tailored for like the actual abilities of the characters that they're made for.
I have a suggestion too, actually. I think Ethan can back me up on this. Genshin did it pretty well. It was the emblem set. I think it was called the samurai set. It was called the emblem set. A lot of units took advantage of that set, and so you could farm that shit for a long period of time, and it buffs up your account so much. There was so much generic value in that one set that gave a lot of units that even came after the release a good what's it called, a good set for them as a viable option. Also, there was the other one with it. I can't remember what its name was. I think it also gave attack and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like,
Emblem, March, I'll say. There were sets that would give like crit rate, crit damage, or like EM, or like,
Wait,
like,
Emblem.
buffs.
Is that the black and purple set from Inazuma? Oh, okay. The one for Shangling, Raiden Shock. Okay.
Yeah,
I remember that.
There was
so
much value
for like
one set.
for
different
units.
units. Different units could take advantage of it. Where it feels like now every set is for X or Y unit. Like it's like as limiting as a signature weapon in some cases, of course. I feel like maybe we could look into the possibility of sets becoming more generic, being strong standalone sets, and be more generic for future units to come. So that way you're also not, always caught lacking. Well, new character, guess I have to not only level them up fully, but here we go again, farming the new set that comes with them because, well, that's now the norm apparently. HSR started it, now it's Kuro doing it. Okay, new character, new set that goes with it, have fun. Well,
so your idea is something
like
in the lines of Moonlight Clouds, Empyrean Anthem, Rejuvenation, something that could be
Moonlight
used
Cloud
by.
is a good example. Yeah, Moonlight Cloud seems generic. I remember thinking it would be like Emblem, but well, it wasn't. But yeah, it's something generic enough that could be good for future units and existing units as well.
I mean, they could definitely go
one
for
set to rule them all.
They could definitely go for more of like a generic set. I think the Crown of Valor is technically the most generic set that we've gotten out of 2.0. You also got, you got Yuno and Augusta who both use it, right? I think it's a matter of like...
It's also a matter of shielder. As soon as we get a dedicated shielder in the game, that set shines bright. Like it's a very, very viable option in that point.
Yeah, I think that just right now, with how we acquire things, like how we acquire echoes just like over time, like with like Nightmare Nests and stuff like that, it hasn't felt like grinding the new sets has been the most painful thing ever. I think that the only moment of frustration for most people is on the first couple of days that a patch launches and like a new set comes out in the Nightmare Nest that way, and then you feel like a little bit time gated over there. I think that's the main point of frustration for most people. But like right now, if you're somebody that had trouble pre-farming for I think that's a personal problem. That's my point of view, because you had 21 days with the Nightmare Nest to farm however many echoes, right, that you farm for 21 days total. And if it's like, if you're at the point where you didn't have enough echoes for you didn't have enough to do whatever, that's like literally, I will like blame the player for that one there, right? Because you had the opportunity to, with so many resources available for free, get a fuck ton of those echoes and probably be able to smooth out the build, right?
Hold on now. Doesn't she use the same set as Augusta?
Yeah,
that's why it's easy.
Well, you're farming for Augusta.
Because you're already farming for her as well.
You're farming for Augusta. How the hell am I supposed to do that?
Well,
I lucked out. I got lucky.
For example, if you get like a piece that, and then you get another piece that is slightly better than that one, the worser piece, you can just put it on, or like the piece that gets the liberation.
Some of your rolls are going to be heavy attack. You give Augusta the heavy attack one, and then some of your rolls are going to be liberation. And you give you will build Augusta at the same time as you're building your
This is 1,000 times better than you going to different tacit fields to farm for different characters. You are getting the pieces for 2 characters. Actually, not 2 characters.
At least you can take the arrow one. I like that.
Yeah,
Because
but
they
for
did hero
example,
damage ones. That was pretty
yeah,
good.
but the thing is, we did not get only this set. We also got the Law of Arming that we already are farming, even if there is no character
That's pretty
yet
good.
that
I like
can
that
be
one.
used.
That's
I like
the
that. I like when they introduce a
the direction.
set that we are not using, because we can farm this specific set already, and when the whatever character might show on the game, we already gonna have the set built already. I actually like Nightmare Echoes, because we get to farm a lot more of these than if we were just farming one specific tasset field. We are slowly building a lot of characters at the same time. So that's why I really like Nightmare Echoes.
We need the one button absorb every echo though.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep throwing
that would-
Pokeballs around.
Yeah.
So
You know
easy.
what?
They
That's
should have
Yuno's
implemented
kit
that
was
when they
available
made, like,
since the start of the
respawn
patch,
stuff.
and
They should have
so
been the
let's
same
not
height,
go
but
ahead and
whatever.
actively spread
I don't know
misinfo in
why
my
we
chat
aren't
because we're
automatically
stupid. Okay.
absorbing
Sound good?
things without
Awesome.
having to press
Yeah,
the F.
the
I know
crossing
it's
stars
just
meant
Hey,
to
it's
show
pretty
her
cool,
that
though.
she was
Hey,
liberation
that,
damage
you know.
for literally
Someone's
since the
arguing
start
with
of the
Saint
Saint
patch.
about the
John
crown
Test,
of
you're
valor
muted.
shit in his chat. It ain't
Okay,
that deep,
someone's
brother.
arguing.
Could have just
I
fucking
think St.
farmed
John
the
Test got
set,
muted.
bro.
Might be tripping though.
I think
Yeah,
it's just
no,
the
he muted
tuners, but
himself.
that's a whole other conversation.
What about WhiWa? We've been talking this entire time about TOA, right? I
Oh,
don't know
this
if
this upcoming WhiWa
already.
reset, I think, is really just so the way that I would see WhiWa progress is it had a crazy. It was legitimately a fucking joke prior to the 114% HP inflation patch. WhiWa was without a doubt a complete joke during that time. You would just take in random fucking teams and then get 2.25k in your sleep just doing random shit. Then they had a patch where they inflated the HP by 114%. It was fucking crazy. Forlova completely wiped the mode. So did the Mono Fusion team. That's what everyone was saying. Okay, this is some fucked up shit. Then they reeled it back in with their most recent update by increasing the damage that every single team does with the Burning Waves mechanic. But it's like not really 100% there yet. It takes like too long to activate. It's not up for like enough time. And the performance of every team got better, but it's not to the point where it needs to be to have kept up with the HP inflation of the mode in the prior update. So I feel like
At
this
this point-
version, their third stab at it, hopefully it gets better.
Did
At this
anyone
point,
You guys
actually?
shit on it before I jump in and defend it. All right, you guys have fun.
Okay, okay, no, go ahead, Lilani.
I was gonna say at this point the Embers just feels like a win more like aspect. Like if you're already doing well, like sure the Embers are gonna help. But if your team is struggling, I feel like the Embers don't impact it that much. Like
Mhm.
it's cool, it helps, but it doesn't, it's not there to, it's not the mechanic that everyone thought it was gonna be, I feel like.
Yeah, right. It could activate way
Yeah.
earlier. It could have a bonus without activating that gets like doubled when it bonuses, right? Like the gold token that's in WhiWa right now. I might just pop it open on my stream. The gold token in WhiWa right now is the generalist one, right? And it says your Burning Waves buff is permanent. You're like, oh, it looks like 80% extra damage. This looks amazing. And then you realize this thing has no effect at all until Burning Waves activates.
I didn't even pick it.
So
I thought
you're
it was
you're
just
basically
weird.
playing down a token that is not doing anything until like a minute or two into your clear. And like that mechanic, that breakdown, that like by itself is like just a little bit stinky. I've been talking about it. Should like activate earlier, should be easier to like get the stuff going. That sort of stuff.
Am I the only one that is kind of tired of these goddamn tokens being like the purpose of the mode? Like the mode should be the mode itself, and the tokens should be a helper, but they are
Not the
actually
tokens.
making
I
the
feel like-
main point of the mode itself.
Tokens feel like an illusion of choice once you get to infinite torrents. I think that's what
Yeah.
a lot of people have. If it's an illusion of choice, because really, there's only one or two options you're picking. Really. So I think that's like why a lot of
Let's
people
go
start.
with the new units.
Yeah.
It's like the
And so
same as
that's
Power
really it.
30, really. You just think.
Yeah.
But
And
I like what you
half
said,
you could probably
illusion
get
of
rid of
choice.
as well,
That's,
but
that's beautiful. I like that. Illusion of choice.
Illusion of choice. Yeah,
Mhm. Oh,
I
that's
think
a
it's just
bar.
not fun,
I like
bro.
that.
that's what WhiWa is, honestly.
I think
What about you, Ethan, and you, Cabs, before V actually defends it?
No, it's just I'd rather just do TOA every 2 weeks, or like they have so many different good game modes. Like they have the boss rush hologram thing that they did. They had the fucking tower event. I don't know. It just feels like their version of like some sort of AoE mechanics, and the AI is still dog shit. Maybe this is
Oh
a
my
hot
God.
take. I don't like
Oh, God.
the time stop not working. I know it's supposedly intended that
No.
way. I think it's just
There's also
weird.
just a couple of enemies that just suck.
It's just there.
Awful.
Yeah, it's just. I don't
Can
know.
I
I just
interject for a second? Do you
Sure,
guys
yeah.
enjoy when shops randomly decide to run away?
Well, yeah. I was about to say it's just like I don't. It's just not for me, man. Like I don't even touch it anymore. Like I'll try it on the reset, and I'm like, it's the same shit. Go buy for Lova and have fun,
Yeah.
I guess. Like I don't
I
really.
get dopamine when
All
I
up for love
finish
with her.
WhiWa, not because like I've got to clear, but because I don't have to do it again for
It's
like
over.
however many weeks.
I'd
Like,
rather
it's
spend
that-
money.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. I was just doing it before I came onto this podcast, right? Running through it. I was trying. I'm actually playing it in
too.
Triple S. It's fine, different turrets. But I tried it with like my Camellia team. I tried it with even my Zanny team. I can barely like scrape an S. It's like I don't even want to try and put in the effort. Like I even don't even want to try. Like I'm good.
It's not fun.
I'm just a hater. I'm just a
Yeah,
hater.
I
I'm just a hater. I don't care. I don't care.
I-
Skill issue, don't care. Hater, don't like it.
I think it's a lazy excuse for an endgame. I really do.
Oh, it is.
What about you, V?
Kind of why I love it.
What do you have to say about it, V? To defend
Oh,
it.
it's simple. For someone like me who just likes to do things and don't know what the hell Iono does yet, I know she buffs heavy attack, but other than that, I have no idea what the hell she does. I see green stuff whenever something blinks green, I click it. That's all I do with Iono. Now, for a player like myself, I get to truly enjoy that because they're literally like punching bags for me. I get to just watch stuff blow up like I'm doing things, like I'm somewhat good at the game. I know I'm not, but it gives me the illusion that I am.
The
and I
Get
get
visual
dopamine.
stimulus.
pretty much. And I
Bro's a
just get
zoomer.
to have fun. I'm having
Literally,
fun.
let's go TikTok
Lova's
brain
great.
for WhiWa.
Frolova's OP there. I know Frolova's probably OP. The rest, I'm not too sure. But all I know is it's fun. It's really fun. Like I know that WhiWa is designed for players like myself that are just like it's just brain dead, just punch stuff. Like it's
I
like
love the
punching
colors on the
bag at
screen.
gym is what it is. And that's fine. It's like I understand, like Tower of Adversity. I go in knowing I will not get the last piece of Asteros. Like the last 50, those are not for me. And I understand that, and that is fine. Like I have fun because if I aim for the 50, I have to sweat. I'm not having fun. But if I ignore it, I am having fun. So ultimately, for me, as long as I'm having fun, you'll notice that's what matters to me. I'm there. I don't have an issue with the thing at all. WhiWa gives me fun. I think it's fun. I think
Hey,
it's a decent
fair
time. You can
enough.
click buttons, have a video of one of you guys in the background. It's a good time.
My question is to Satan. Do you like that game mode?
I think it's
Like,
I think it's-
genuinely.
I think it's fun. Yeah, I have fun playing it.
Yeah. Okay. Because I remember
Yeah,
we
put
had a
it here,
podcast.
Put it here.
I feel like it's only you two. Every other person I've spoken to, like, I mean, we can go back to when it dropped in 2.0 or 2.0, whatever it was. Like, I remember us all on that podcast, like, it has potential, but I just feel like it hasn't lived up to its potential. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't care. Like, it takes away a month.
I personally view TOA as a game mode, right? Where you're trying to get the fastest rotations possible and trying to deal as much damage to the boss. It doesn't matter when you use certain attacks, right? As long as they hit. I like WhiWa
Exactly.
in particular because there's a very strategic element of it for me of when you're using certain attacks based off the wave spawning. Like in TOA, I'm trying to get off my Brant anchor as fast as possible, right? In WhiWa, I'm intentionally moving around the battlefield, like using skills that maybe extend my rotation, do stuff like that to like finish off a wave of enemies, and now I can anchor like 20 mobs at once versus the one mob if I was just playing like I was playing in the TOA.
Isn't
and
that
so-
just satisfying when you hit them with that big AoE?
Oh,
Like they're all
absolutely.
trapped. They're
Like,
like
I mean,
there's a separate, like-
dropping that goddamn meteor.
There's another
There's
like
a reason
audio
why he
sound,
likes
right?
it.
Right. It plays the same audio sound like for how many enemies you hit, and I've had times where it sounds like my speaker is about to blow out because I just brand anchored like 30 enemies at once, right? So it's like situations like that where I am incentivized to both do rotations as fast as possible while also like timing my rotations and also factoring in my positioning. I think that WhiWa currently is harder than the TOA. And I think part of that is a lot of people
Yeah.
might not want to admit that it's harder than the TOA. And so oftentimes it's a lot easier to say, like, oh, I'm not getting good scores on this block. I'm not talking about anyone on the call in particular.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, like, people might not do well in it, not be able to get good scores in it when they could. And part of that is leading them to say,
You're
like,
saying WhiWa is harder than TOA.
Yeah,
did I hear that right?
like, because there's a lot more rooms
I'd
to
agree.
fuck up in WhiWa, where you can brand anchor one mob when you could have like destroyed an entire
20.
wave with it, right?
No.
Okay,
You
yeah,
can't
you're talking
fuck
about
up.
the
You
You have to
can't
pay
really-
way more attention to your surroundings.
you
Like
can't
way
fuck
more.
up like that in the TOA.
Not that much. Not that much. I just do things. Like seriously, I just do things, and I never had that issue at all. Like sometimes I'd have that
It
random
depends on the
ass
units.
one
Well,
cost
you
at
gotta-
the edge
I
of
was
the
gonna.
map.
But it also depends, like,
That's it.
if you're looking for clears, right? Like, how well are you looking to triple S things? Like, then it matters, right? We could say that, oh, we don't have to pay attention. but, like, it does.
You
If
get a
you're looking
reward
it,
for
okay,
that? Does
just
that
redo
matter?
it, yeah.
Well, I mean, some people
Does
they
that
just
matter?
they just like getting high scores, or they like
But do you
getting
get
higher scores.
rewards? Am I missing out on
No,
Astra?
no.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm missing.
there are some people that will
There's
play.
titles.
Yeah,
if you get
they'll play
10
just for the
triple S's in a
score,
row. Yeah.
not necessarily more rewards.
Yeah, it's for the bragging rights. I mean, some people just like playing WhiWa just because they can play
Oh.
GN,
Oh.
so it can just balance out a lot of enemies at the same time, for example.
Imagine bragging about your score in a gacha game. Couldn't be me. Sorry, not sorry.
Couldn't you make the argument though that it's the character that makes the mode fun, not the mode itself?
I think it's the character, honestly.
Yeah, 'cause,
it's,
like, you
it's
were,
super
like-
fun to play with AoE units in that
Yeah.
mode, like Shangli and the Fusion team.
Like, I agree
Or
with the
GN.
brand thing. I use Brant all the time in WhiWa, and hearing the anchor, that's like instant dopamine. But any other character, it's like, okay, I'm just doing this as a chore. So doesn't that inherently make it problematic just because the game mode itself isn't enjoyable? But hey, if you buy this product, you can make this game mode fun.
Havoc Rover is actually one of the most satisfying WhiWa characters to play because their liberation can clear multiple ways at once.
What about the second half? Though?
Multiple?
What are you doing?
Yeah, because they deal so much. Okay, so I think this is some of the
I
things
don't
we gotta
play
get
his.
straight.
Sorry.
Free to play does not mean zero pull. And if you're at the point
Yeah.
where you've reached
I like
infinite
that.
torrents in WhiWa and you only have Havoc Rover, I don't know how the fuck you got there. Okay, so if you're
It's
gonna
a
say,
challenge.
what are you gonna do on the second side, implying that we
No.
don't have any other units on the account, I'm not entertaining that
no.
discussion.
No. That's not what I'm saying, right? But like, obviously, okay. The game mode should exist in a sense where they need AOE, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't think we could just like. Again, it comes down to what are you looking for? Like, is the average person like V is the average dude? He's fucking hitting lights and he's hitting shit, just like whatever, yada yada yada. Like, you could use Havoc Rover, but also the amount of effort you're gonna have to put in to make Havoc Rover work, I feel like is a lot.
Oh
I
yeah,
do.
yeah. It requires a little
You
bit.
know?
It requires a bit of practice to get the timing right, but
There's like a middle ground to it. It's like, yes, he's really good, but also you're gonna have to put in practice, which is fine. But I don't know. I feel like they
Also,
could
like
just.
what you said, Saints. Yeah, like even those players have polls. Like they can still get, for example, if they started playing the previous banner, they can have Augusta. They can have Iono right now. Like if you just start the game, you can guarantee an Iono.
You can,
You can't just look at
technically
two
get
people.
one character per version with the amount of pulls that you get.
I'm saying
each
like for new
version.
players.
Yeah,
newbies.
I guess I feel like
Yeah.
we're getting a little bit off track. We're starting to talk about like pull value
Yeah.
and WhiWa and stuff like that. I think the
Mhm.
main thing is that tokens are kind of what like can really make or break this game mode. And right now, I think people aren't very satisfied with it because this token sucks dick. It's so fucking bad. The falling star that tears Fate apart. Yeah, this thing is like you basically don't have a gold token at all during your clear. So I would just say what Kuro really needs to like figure out how to balance these bad boys a little bit better. And once they're able to like not make some of these actually feel like shit, this is the thing. People would not care about this WhiWa. They wouldn't be saying anything about it if the original 40% crit rate, 80% crit damage
Just
token was
stay there.
back. Right?
Just stay.
Like,
just
if-
keep it there permanently.
If that was there, I don't think people
As
would be
a fail-safe.
complaining at all. I don't think there would be anything that's like an issue. So yeah, I genuinely do think it's like a buff problem, and they're kind of just griefing with the buffs right now. Because a lot of them just feel like shit in comparison to stuff that we've actually had before. So that's why a lot of people can say the game has actually become worse, because literally the quality of the buffs has gone down for average clears, and it's resulting in some very unfortunate stuff, I think, for a lot of people in the present.
An argument can be made though for it doesn't feel like it's incentivizing too hard the newer units, because I like what Cap like to reference what she said earlier, the illusion of choice, where you can always pick the older echoes that are just generic, like gain 25% attribute damage to whichever. I'm pretty sure they're generic ones like that. You can always utilize those in previous units and don't feel like, oh my god, like I need the new units to feel like this particular token for me to take full advantage of it. The fact that they're weaker now means that you don't necessarily have to use that buff to better clear, if I'm making any sense.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's not really that the tokens are weaker, it's just that they're weaker for anyone that isn't on the most recent banner.
Yeah, the tokens
Yeah.
are just, the generalist tokens suck ass, but the specific ones for shield units are actually quite good. So it's really just like I believe that this was their first attempt at it, and it's not like awful. It's not bad. You can still get really good clear times with this one. It's just a matter of like it should feel a lot better than it is right now, and the clear times or the clear amounts should be way higher. Like you should be getting like 4K with that using like a triple arrow Geon team, but you're getting around 3K something. And there's not really better options for you to choose. Yeah, it takes a minute to activate it. So yeah, I mean, it's just that's why I'm kind of just leaning more towards let's wait and see this next reset, the third one after, see how the tokens change, see how the environment changes, all of that. And then just, decide, okay, it's been 3 updates now. They did like a band-aid fix this last one. I hope this next one cures the disease, otherwise we might have an issue.
I just find it so bizarre that after all the events they've made, they decided pincer maneuver is the endgame people wanted.
That's what I'm saying, bro. But that's a whole different conversation. I don't want to derail it. It's just my
Pincer?
personal joint.
Wait,
This original event was called Pincer Maneuver or whatever the fuck it was. So they turned this into an end game. We'll have to see what happens at 3.0. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know why.
I'm looking at the time right now. We are approaching close to our end. Any last topics that we want to get out of the way, ladies and gentlemen?
Are we opposed to buffs for characters at all? I know we touched on it a little bit, but
oh yeah,
do you guys see any way at all?
I think
Maybe
that
not.
it's simply a good business decision to buff older units, because banners will come back again and reruns do exist. There's no reason why anybody in their right mind would pull on Yinlin's banner, right? And Geon would be a lot more popular if his kit got modernized, especially with his liberation, right? Imagine if they just improved his tracking during his liberation and then improve the timing so that you don't need a Qinglong cancel anymore to get out his max damage, right? Imagine those 2 updates were made, they just turned the Qinglong cancel into like the actual damage output of the ability, removed the need to cancel, and then gave him better tracking. He doesn't change damage-wise at all, but he just got way more popular in terms of like being a modernized 1.0 unit. And maybe they give him a little bit of a damage buff. I don't fucking know, right? But it's like small things like that aren't like throwing the balance out of whack, but just modernizing units.
Reminder that they actually did buff a specific unit, Spectral Rover, when they introduced the negative status effects. They introduced the Spectral Frazzle. I don't know when. I don't even play that. I think it's on the Resonance skill. Maybe one person here is going to know. Resonance skill.
2.0.
Yeah, so why would they not, for example, be opposed to the idea of buffing a specific character like Camellia or something like that to use a negative status that could further increase their value? Like, that could be a thing, for example. I'm not saying Camellia should, I'm just giving the idea out there.
I've seen a lot of people complain about Vigor Cost for the 3 and floor. I think the only reason people are complaining is because there's asteroids tied to it. That's it.
I think Vigor Costs are fine, but add an overflow Vigor system where somebody can go beyond the cap of 10, but then that severely debuffs the unit. Like if they go to like -5, it's like minus 25%, 50% all stats, something like that. And make it so that if you really are like rough on your roster, you can try to do it with like a support that's getting like, imagine your shorekeeper that is healing like 100 HP a second because she's been in the TOA like 30 times. Like, I think that would be an interesting system to use for individuals that don't have a wide roster, but maybe they're grinding out the game like fucking crazy. They're going like hitless on everything, and so the debuff doesn't really matter. And then they can clear that way through like sheer force of will. Obviously it's gonna be really fucking hard to do it, but I feel like it would also be like fun content as well, so people can like see, can I clear with negative 25 vigor, stuff like that.
Yeah, I
But at
do
that
think.
point-
Yeah.
I do think Rover needs like an extra 5 though.
Oh, I think
He's being slow.
I think their forms need to be separated for vigor counting.
I agree.
If they're not going to
Yeah.
fully separate it, at least give like another 5+ because he's using so many
Something for
teams.
Rover.
Yeah, maybe 5 for each copy that you have of him. You keep him as
Yeah.
one unit,
Mhm.
but then unlocking Havoc gives you Gakes and go from 10 to 15. Unlocking
yeah.
Arrow makes him
Yeah.
go from 15 to 20.
15 to 20, yeah, something like that.
Rover
Yeah,
should
I
have
also-
all his elements in one kit. I don't care. I should be
also
able to
feel like
switch
with
mid-combat.
like the
Kind of
Call of
like
Duty
the
stuff.
story. He does
I-
that in the story. I want to
Yeah.
do it in game. I don't care.
I kind of think with the whole Vigor thing, it's also one of the things. It's a problem that solves itself the more you play the game. It's one of those weird things, right? Like
I don't want
it
to play the
kind of-
game. I just want the rewards.
No, the
I just
longer
wanna
you play
pull.
the game, the problem
Bro.
kind of like fixes itself. But that's not like a justification for it staying. But
All right,
Okay.
any other topics?
I have one last quick one for players that are like afraid that Kuro is gonna suffer the same as Hoyo. Something to keep in mind that Kuro really has to try hard to fall into the same out of control power creep like Hoyo, for the simple fact that it's 3, not 4. Like you don't need 4 like Hoyo. It's not as much pressure on you than what it is in Hoyo. And I would love for you guys to hear your thoughts on this, as in the sense of, well, do you think 3 could still be problematic like 4 in Hoyo games?
No, I think inherently because buffs in every single game kind of like work off each other. Like buffs scale almost like quadratically with more buffs, right? It's like having your echo set matters a lot more when you have a really good weapon, right? Attack percentage matters a lot more when you already have a lot of damage percent, or you have a lot of crit. Adding more attack onto that build is going to benefit you a lot more. And the thing with four-person teams is that means just more buffs available and more opportunities for shit to get unbalanced, right? Is Mavalik and Sitlali, just the two of them together, that broken? Not really. You add in Jalonin, though, and then you're like, oh, fuck, what's going on, brother? Then you add in the Bennett on top of that, and you're like, oh, dear, this is a lot of damage. And it's like, it can be like that extra addition of a character. Now you have 4 different levers that you can pull on, and all 4 of them could be overpowered. Versus 3,
Exactly.
where there's just less levers to pull on, there's less potential to be
Exactly.
overpowered.
It's more contained,
Yeah,
basically.
so that's just why 3 versus 4, right, is inherently... Right, it's a lot easier to prevent power creep in a game where everybody has 1-unit teams. Because you just need to individually look at these one units. That's why it's a lot easier to balance, right? Certain, like, I would say it's a lot easier to balance, like, fighting games and stuff like that. Yes, you can put them on a team, but oftentimes it's just how these two guys are comparing to each other. They don't, like, buff each other and shit like that.
Yeah. Also, Kuro, I feel like did a decent job with, especially Augusta and Iono, in the sense of they work decent with the previous units. Like you don't feel like you need the now stuff. Like they work with the previous stuff as well. So it's a bit of a cook in my book for me personally, because I feel like, oh, like I'm rewarded for having these two. Like I can do it if I so desire. I have options. I love options. So I think it's a bit of a cook. I feel like people disregarded that, but the fact that Mortefi shines now with Augusta is a huge W for me. Like you're not gonna have that in something like SSR. Like we all know that's not happening. But I feel like they are power creeping. It's the start of power creep, like more blatant power creep, like it's more defined, but in a more controlled way.
I do want to point out that yes, we can agree that there's power creep in Wuthering Waves, but we shouldn't be comparing it all the single time to Genshin Impact. We should be comparing it to Wuthering Waves since the start of the game. And yes, of course, when you compare everything to Satan, everything's gonna be good, right? But we should understand that exactly, just like you said. Of course, there's power creep. We should be allowed to talk about that. Like the thing that we're doing right now in this podcast is to talk about the endgame mode. What are the issues? What are not the issues? And this is what makes everyone like debate and talk about these things in the community. And I really like the fact that we do this because this is what leads to change. Because if it wasn't for the player base, there wouldn't be changes on the game. A reminder that in one, I believe. That's when we had how they say that the thing where you write stuff for the not the review, it's the suggestions
Feedback,
thingy.
Survey.
The survey, yeah. We had a
survey.
specific survey that they asked us if we liked weapons like the Gian weapon. That is not exactly a weapon; it's like his lance. And I think most of the community said yes, and they did listen to us. This is a company that actually listens to the players. Of course, it's like a gacha community, like any other. But in this case, we shouldn't put up the same degree. Sorry, Portuguese. Degree of scrutiny as, for example, Hoyoverse itself. Because they are actually trying.
I think that's completely naive. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be that guy because I'm naive myself as a person, but that's just completely naive. Because ultimately, you're talking about a company that emulated the exact same game, made it better. The entire formula of how the gacha is being done, you can see a lot of Hoyoverse written there. The reality is there's money to be made if you follow Hoyoverse's tracks, especially if you can get away with it. They're going to attempt to get away with it. They're not getting away with it. You've seen what happened in the anniversary. They've seen the backlash. They know they have a community that's on their toes. Like, hey, now we're trained. We had prior training with Hoyoverse. Don't do the same stuff. We see you. So
yeah,
Kuro has too much to gain if they were to get away with the same stuff Hoyo does, because Hoyo is making the big bucks. They're ultimately a company. They're gonna do that. You have to look at what Hoyo does to get a good idea to what Kuro may be trying to do. It's the nature of where they are. Okay, I don't hate them.
Exactly. What I'm saying is
it.
we should criticize. Okay, so maybe that is a mistake in my end. What I wanted to say is more like, we shouldn't be dismissing the criticisms conversations, right? That we should be all talking with everyone and with every viewer that is like watching this. We should be addressing issues where there is issues. Because if we don't do it, because Genshin is way worse, so it's better. No, that doesn't lead to nowhere. We should be able to address this without being shut down because people don't want to listen to something that is a critic of WuWa. Because if it is a critic of WuWa, you're following an agenda. You're following an agenda. No, maybe I just want to be honest about the game that I like.
I feel like that most of the community is like good for being critics. Like, this is a community that like shouts and screams when we get surveys and gets really happy about it, right? Like, I feel like overall, if it's good critique and good ideas, people are very happy to hear that.
So I think the one thing that everyone needs to remember at the end of the day is that the Wuthering Waves community does respond negatively to critique if it's dog shit. There's a little track record, right, of people just making up shit with the fucking game. There's actually a popular 11K liked Twitter thread of them blaming Wuthering Waves for what happened to Yazuha, a character from ZZZ, and how she got canceled by WuWa players, apparently. So it's like, that's the level of misinformation that flows about the game regularly, right? They're literally blaming the WuWa community for what ZZZ players did to their own VA. Right, that's something that occurs on a regular basis. And
the mental gymnastics.
The chances are
I missed an episode. I guess
I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. If you're somebody that has been maybe making some pointed critiques, or anybody that's been making some pointed critiques about some types of content, it's not because you critiqued the game. It's because you probably critiqued it, and there's either holes in your reasoning, there's holes in your logic, or something so on and so forth. And
no, there's sensitive blokes. Come on now. There's some sensitive.
There's people. This is
the thing, right? But let's also talk about how some of the takes on this call have been readjusted based off the conversation that's had. You didn't have the opportunity to have those one-on-one conversations or whatever, like the group conversations with those people that might have said your critiques are bad. And this is the thing, right? There were some critiques that came in here. They faced some feedback, got some additional, clarification, and then it ended up getting changed because we thought it wasn't great critique because some parts of the situation were missing, right? Like you were using an S6 unit and then trying to compare it to S0 ones, right? Like
it's the argument with you, and I concede that.
Hey,
honestly,
this comparison is kind of dog shit because like one team costs literally thousands of dollars more. Then it's like that's not the WuWa community being sensitive. That's just actually them being quite reasonable in critiquing that critique. So it's a matter of, hey guys, if someone's disagreeing with you, that doesn't mean that they're wrong or that it's the community being sensitive. It's just the community has a little track record of dealing with people making shit up about the game that makes literally zero sense at all. When you take that point and examine it under any type of criticality, And if someone did that to your point and they happen to not agree with you, that doesn't mean that they're just shilling the game. It means that maybe there's a flaw in your logic and reasoning.
But don't you think that, for example, the same people that had to condition themselves to continuously defend against like weird criticisms by other communities would be
Blazion,
already
your
on
criticism
a defensive
was weird.
stance? I know. I'm just saying that, like, not just mine, okay? There could be some valid critics
your
made by
criticism
people
was
in the call.
weird. And so it feels like you're speaking on this. I obviously don't want to but it feels like you're speaking on this based off of your past experience with this issue. But then you talked about comparing an S6 Chacona, right? It's like, that's like a weird criticism, right? That people are like, why is he comparing a team that costs thousands of dollars? And it's like, we need to be, I feel like, just generally more accepting of that immediate feedback and not, right, be like, just kind of like, it sounds like we are being a little bit, occasionally a bit stubborn here when it comes to certain things. And I feel like, again, if we're going to expect an open mind from the person that's receiving our critique, we have to have an open mind ourselves when we get feedback on our critique.
I like that.
Yeah. So I just want to point this out. Like, for example, Blazon, you, me, it doesn't matter who it could be. Let's say we upload a video saying, I made a video saying I thought this patch was disappointing for me for a lot of reasons, right?
Yeah.
Listen, fucking, you know what? There's a couple people like, you're stupid as fuck. It's better than Genshin, so fuck you. Those people are irrelevant. That's not the majority of the community. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of weirdos, but don't let yourself get one guide. Don't generalize and don't.
I'm getting too many times one guy. That's my fault.
You gotta.
Here's
start
the
getting
thing,
stupid
because we're like similar size.
But
those
also
are more accentuated because you still didn't develop your own fan base. That's why they're too present. Like you see them being too, like they're over there, like they're that 20% dislike ratio. It's all them, right? They seem like there's a lot of them, but the reality is not. You're just not there yet.
I agree. It's about having a reasonable take. Like I recently made a video about like.
She got cooked. But the point is, she made a video and she had a really good.
Like,
what a classic.
Negative.
Wait, go. Can you repeat, Cabs?
You're cutting it out.
You had your classic.
I cutting out. My bad. Sorry.
You're good now.
I made like a critique about like story about subplot of 2.6, and it was received fine. Like, because I feel like the points that I made was like valid to people. Like, actually, I didn't think about that. That's actually okay. I think that kind of goes back to if it's a good critique or people agree with, it's like people are very accepting of something that makes sense to them. If you can like pan it out logically.
Yeah, but even if it is a good critique, you will have people who tell you to shut the fuck up and you're stupid and then it's better than
sometimes.
Who cares?
Few,
like fuck them. Like, who cares?
Okay.
But that's not like the whole WuWa community. That's not the whole thing. Like, it's not.
You're gonna have a couple of people that are just dipshits.
Okay.
Don't get one guy.
I was getting one guy, and then that just made me make a different video, and that different video, I then used the of course the S6, which kind of doesn't underline my argument.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's a good point for us to land. We need to stop. Again, if we're gonna expect people to listen to our critiques, we have some harsh opinions about the game, then we got to be, receptive to whatever critiques they have about our critiques.
Open the conversation.
Because yes, right. Just because it's your take doesn't mean you're always right. That's
True.
That's genuinely, I think, a fact that a lot of people don't seem to recognize sometimes. And it leads to
except if you're Tectone.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Unless if you're Tectone, yes, of course, or Saint Tontus.
Just get ready for my 59-page Google Doc on when Baldy was actually wrong. Anyways, thank you all for taking the time to come out today. We're just over 2 hours now. I think it was a fruitful conversation. We got a lot of people with a lot of different viewpoints and a lot of different, bits of experience when it comes down to it. But overall, I think we've isolated a lot of like the big issues. I think we got into a lot of like solutioning. And I don't think that there's really a stone that we left uncovered for this one. I do feel like we addressed pretty much everything that we could have wanted when it comes to WuWa's Endgame. That'll be that for this one, ladies and gents. I'll see you all later.